Defining Duke is brought to you by Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. So instead of spending hours on multiple job sites searching for candidates with the right skills, Indeed's a powerful hiring platform that can help you do it all. So what are you waiting for? Start hiring now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/Duke. All for good for a limited time. Claim your $75 credit now at Indeed.com/Duke. Just go to Indeed.com/Duke and support the show by saying you heard about it on this podcast. Indeed.com/Duke. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Salutations, everybody. It is Maddie here today, and welcome to episode 146 of Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast. Today, I am joined by, as always, my lovely co-host, Lord Cognito. Sir, how are you this week? Oh, wait, time out.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now? Whatever. There we go. We live. Professional podcasting.
Well, we can restart. All right,
let's restart.
We'll restart. We're good. We will, do we start a new recording for this?
You want to just have it out, right?
Yeah. We'll just trim it out. All right. No worries. Right. I'll do the intro again.
All right, no doubt.
Salutations, everybody. It is Maddie here today, and welcome to episode 146.2 of Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast. Today, I'm joined by my unmuted co-host, Lord Cognito. There's a bit of backstory to the last 40 seconds of our life here. Shall we get into it?
Let's get into it. We're going to talk about what happened.
Professional podcasting in motion right now.
Professional podcasting. Nah, man, I'm doing better. Much better. As most of you already know, up on Twitter, I kind of I've been fairly transparent with stuff that's been going on with me, and this week was a very anxiety-filled week because I knew everything was building to this moment. So I don't know if you want me to get into it or whatever.
Yeah,
but
I'm gonna let the audience know. Gonna get a nice heart-to-heart here, probably in the opening 20 minutes. Beyond the medical, we're gonna talk with our audience transparently. Yes. Got some stuff weighing on my heart that I'd like to talk about. So Kyle, kick us off and then we'll get into the rest.
Yeah, the heart to heart with the realm of the Dukes, right? So it's for me, on the health front, obviously a lot of you know what happened to me early in the year and how I was hospitalized. I've been hospitalized a lot this year, and a lot of it was not due to my fault, but circumstances, COVID, pneumonia, and then, diverticulitis all at once, And one of the major things, which was my concern, is always long-term, the residual effects. How am I going to be affected? And, they told me at the time, that, hey, we saw some things on the liver. Hey, we saw some things here. So that always was in the back of my mind. And everything got down basically to this week and the results of that liver biopsy, which I told y'all the glorious story last week of how awful that was. So, man. And to me, I had to come into it like, look, you have to be prepared if it's an answer you don't want to hear. Right. And I know the big C word is a word that floats around, when you're in your 40 somethings, and stuff like that. You got to do early detection. You got to do a lot of things. So, I'm going into the gastroenterologist's office kind of with all right, be ready in case. And he just sat me down and just said, look, man, I'm looking at your results. I'm looking at everything we saw. Well, we saw you, 3 or 4 months ago. We saw these lesions. They were this size. We don't know what they were. That's why we took so many cuts of the biopsy. And then he sat me down. He was just like, look, not only have the lesions reduced and we barely see them anymore, he was like, liver function is normal. So I just was a step back. And I was just like, I couldn't believe it. I was bracing myself for like bad news. And when he told me, and I'm just like, yo, this is a blessing. And I remember when they told me back then, when they saw something, I said, bro, I got to change whatever because they told me, it's like, hey, get on a low salt diet, do a couple things to your diet. They was basically saying, and keep up with your exercise and stuff like that. But I went aggressive. I remember at that time, I'm like, you know what, Los, I'm going no salt. We gonna grab this Mrs. Dash. We gonna, I was like, I'm going extra hard. So I asked him, I was like, do you think, he's like, oh yeah, he said, a lot of that stuff can contribute, to it. And he just said, hey man, keep doing what you're doing. And bro, it was such a relief. And I got through it. So still not, I'm out of the clear out of the major one because now every other specialist is like, okay, now we want to see you because you got your results. You know what I'm saying? Kind of thing. Yeah. So, we got to make sure the lungs are good, make sure everything, all the kidney, all that other stuff is good. But from all intents and purposes, pulmonologists, gastroenterologists, everybody is saying you have done like this major turnaround and you are very fortunate based on how things were looking and how dire it was. You almost lost your life earlier this year. So it's a blessing. And I'm just been, I just been in this zone. Settled out. Now my anxiety is down. Now I can, not stress as much. So that's where I'm at. And I'm very appreciative. And thanks everyone for checking in and all the messages that I get. Shout out to Cobra Commander. He hits me up a lot. And, I let him know what's going on and stuff. Cause it's been a very stressful year on me mentally with all this stuff while trying to do all my other stuff. But we're still here and we're going to still keep pushing forward with the health as well. You know what I'm saying? So that I'm happy. It's a blessing.
Yeah, I'm very relieved to hear that everything's come back clear, man, because that was, one of the worries, right? It feels like there's been an aura around this show of just bad health occurrences and like we couldn't escape it. And then it like ekes out the gene even. It's like, man, like LSM needs a win. So I'm glad you're coming out clean, and it makes me very relieved, very happy to hear.
Thank you.
I got good news of my own, right?
What's going on?
So as many people know, I've had the swaying and balance issues for, we're about a month away from it being a year. And for those who didn't check any of the videos or listen to any of the shows, what effectively happens is like my head will swivel, not like dramatically like, wow, but it'll be small, tight circles that you as a general human may not notice, but I'll be like staring at the computer and I'll just feel my head kind of rock. And it makes it incredibly hard to focus. And that led to balance issues where like I lean in a chair and we have ergonomic chairs, right? So like these seats kind of give a little bit and they'll rock. And when you and I were at the Forza event, I specifically told you I was having a really tough time with the chairs they had there because they were just rocking everywhere, very unstable, where I just felt off balance every single day pretty much for a year, which is at first you're like, that's doable, but it's, oh my God, it's grating on your mental health for sure. So I can relate to you on that, Cog. And when I switched to these glasses and I switched the diet, I got reduced symptoms, but it was still there. And it was frustrating because I'm like, what's the kill shot to this thing then, man? Like I've completely changed my life, my habits. Like what more do you want? And so I thought about our conversation, what you said about your mom, about physical therapy. And I was like, you know what? I was like, let me call, give it a shot. And at first they thought it was like a postural thing. Like your neck muscles, like you're always at the computer, you're like this, your neck muscles get tight. And they described how as your head's always forward, it can cause a vestibular symptom where it feels like you're off balance. And I'm just like, okay, makes sense. Work related. And so we worked on that a lot, and I felt really good. I mean, these dudes were doing some crazy stretches to me. I'm like, man, dude, I was feeling good, but I was not losing the swaying and the balance issues. They were still there, and I was in disbelief. I'm like, what the is it? And I come in last Monday, and this guy, it was just me and one other specialist there. Like normally the place is kind of packed, specialists working with all these different clients. And this dude's like, I went over your papers, went over your MRI, I went over everything. He's like, I want to try something different with you today. So he takes me over to this wall. He has lined up on the wall these sticky notes, and it's labeled 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
And he made me go full Halo Combat Evolved. All right. So you know how you get, when you're like looking around, So he's like, stand with your head facing straight. And he's like, I want you to look 1, 2, 10 times.
This is Combat Evolved.
Yeah, I went full, and my head straight went there. I was like, I swear to God, if this works. And so,
Halo for the day.
Halo's getting some W's this show.
Let's go.
And it wasn't like an immediate change. but they had me stand on one leg, other leg. They had me doing a lot of balance focused exercises. And while it wasn't gone, like when I got back, Laylee's always like, how was it? I was like, something feels a little different. And obviously with physical therapy, these people are magicians. They expect you to do the work at home. And so I went to, I had a little weekend trip away to kind of just recover and just mentally reset, because it was desperately needed. I'll get into why later. And Saturday when we were at the spa, I've been doing these exercises every day. And for the first time in a year, man, like it was stillness. Like I was not rocking. I was no swaying, no swiveling. I was eating foods that I, quote, wasn't supposed to be eating, and nothing was happening. I was like, I was so happy. You couldn't even believe it. Like I said to Laylee, I said, I feel like I'm living a dream right now, that I'm not on skates right now, like that I'm being a normal person to some degree. And I felt very good because I knew taking the medicine wasn't the answer. I knew that I should never have tried that. And I'm glad I didn't. I was like, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel like the answer I'm looking for. And while it took a lot of patience, it feels good to know now I'm on this road to recovery. And what they think is actually happening, and why I'm still going to wear these glasses and really take care of myself, is the theory that a chiropractor that works at this facility told me is like your optical nerves, your eyes, connected to a part of your cerebellum, and they can get inflamed, and that can lead to that swaying. And they're like, you're at a computer a lot. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I'm looking at screens constantly. And yeah, so it started to make sense of figuring out what's going on here. And so we're going to get more exercises this Friday, but I feel so lucky to finally just have some stability, where we were talking about traveling on a plane, and that was something that I have not entertained. I've missed events. I missed Jimmy's wedding. I'm missing Colin's wedding. I'm missing, what else? The Last Stand events. I've missed vacations. I've missed a lot. I know I'm talking all luxuries here, but like life is to be enjoyed in my eyes. And like I was living an extremely overly structured, mentally deteriorating lifestyle where I was super limited in what I could eat. Like there was just no enjoyment beyond games, and just the people that surrounded me. So I'm feeling really grateful that I've just like you, that, we're finally getting some answers here, and right around the right time, right, to kind of wrap up the year strong and find some stability here and enter the next year even better. And so I think, Cog, that's a good setup to just expand a bit on where we are as a realm.
Yeah,
right?
Let's talk to the realm. Let's go.
So Ladies writes in, it's a great one here. Hey Dukes, I've been loving the show since the beginning, but if I'm being honest, I feel you guys are devoting too much time, quote, addressing the haters, end quote. I understand the desire to respond to someone, especially if they're talking about you, but I feel like recently a good chunk of the episode is being reserved to respond to, quote, PlayStation fanboys, end quote, or, quote, Monopoly bros, end quote. And it's just getting a bit tiresome. I find the content you guys make to be of a superior quality than the drivel that's on Twitter, so I don't think you guys need to stoop down to that level. Thanks for hearing me out. Now, Cog, I don't want to take over the show here and just talk.
Please.
I want to get your 2 cents, of course, as well on this. But the reason I wanted to just stabilize for a moment is I read all the feedback we get. I go through the YouTube comments. Maybe that's not the smartest thing they do. I read all the patrons. I try not to dig through the Patreon messages too much because I know that's like Colin's business more than my own. But I try to keep a good track of things here because I dedicate a ton of time to putting the show together. And I can agree with Ladies' feedback here. I can agree that we've definitely given a lot of energy to detractors. And I say all of that because when I looked at last week's feedback, where I thought we put together a really good episode, we're getting chewed up. And I mean, it's getting bad in the comment section. And I think it's because we're validating an insatiable part of various fan bases and just not doing what we did before, which was just, here's our opinion, take it or leave it, and kind of focusing on us. And I think the reason, I know the reason why I've been on my heels a bit lately is because of that time spent. When I'm, and Cog, I know you are too, going through the health stuff we go through, and I sacrifice, I'll talk business here. I sacrifice both my YouTube channels and my own video game to make this show happen. Like I take hours and hours and hours of my life away from stuff that is my future to make sure this works. And so when I see, I'm not going to name names and I'm not going to call out quotes, but I'm going to just say very disingenuous comments that some are fair criticism. We'll have one to address here from one of the patron write-ins. But when I say disingenuous, I do mean outright lies. I do mean like people saying, Maddie said this. When I go back and listen, I'm like, I didn't say anything close to that. And when you're constantly getting chewed up that way, it's like Cog and I are in the same mindset here. If you're going to hate us, I'm not going to fight you on that. I don't care if you don't like me. I would just rather you don't like me for the right reasons. Right. I would rather you don't like me because I actually said something. If you're going to if you have to make something up to dislike me, I don't know what that says about you or me, right? Like, am I do you like me that much that you got to find a way to hate me? I doubt it, but it's malicious and it's toxic. And I want this to sort of serve as the reset button for us here, where we kind of gather, talk once more, get it out of our systems, like you and I mean, and we just move on, turn the page and get back to what we've been doing here, starting this episode. Because while I don't think it's been as dramatic as I'm making it out to be, it feels internally that way, where normally when I sit down, I'm going to be transparent. I sit down to do Duke, I'm hyped. I'm like, let's go. Especially this week. Like, let's go. There's a lot going on, a lot of news.
A lot going on.
But lately, as I'm sitting down, I'm just like, all right, like what are people going to drill into us with this time? And that's not to say that you got to agree with everything we say. We'll, again, get into that. But it's been tough, man. Like, I know we're lucky to do this, and so I'm not going to take that for granted, but it has been tough where I sit down and I'm just like bracing for impact every time. I'm like, what are they going to flip out about this time? And that's not a good mindset to have. So I want to clear the air on that. I thank ladies for writing in. I'm sure you're not the only one who felt that way. And while we'll still make sure we mention in context, like you're going to hear, for example, spoiler, Starfield sales being number one, we will definitely reference many people saying, hey, people are saying Game Pass is killing sales. Let's look at this. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about Liza P and so on and so forth. So you're going to hear references to community-based discussions. That's always a part of our show because we do, as we have write-ins here, we have a back and forth with our community. But I don't want to poison the well at all. Because defining Duke, I took a lot of pride in the fact that even though we were definitely covering one side of a console, we have a very good community, a very vibrant, positive one. And so it was frustrating to see it kind of get hijacked. Right. And so I just wanted to, again, kind of address that off the rip and, and take accountability, of course, and just make sure people know that we're aware of that and that we're going to do better. But Cog, anything you want to say here as we get into our next write-in in a sec?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, shout out to ladies on the feedback. I do agree to some extent the last couple episodes have been defensive, right? And in the sense of, there's a couple of controversial or very, charged up topics that we feel very strongly about. And, you're going to respond. I think as a human being, as being any type of public figure, when it comes to podcasting, it comes with the territory. People are going to attack you. People are going to do stuff. And for the most part, I'm used to it. I think for me personally, where the distinction is when there is misinformation about kind of what you said, which is like, I didn't say that, or that's not what I meant. So I think there's always room for clarification, but I do agree spending too much time addressing people, it becomes very combative, right? So all I'll say is this. I'm human, just like anybody else. At the end of the day, if there is something that I feel is really incorrect about what my point is, and I will get into that because there is a couple of things that I do want to address, later on the show, I am going to speak up. But for the most part, I'll be honest, there's things people say about me all the time, and I just rub that stuff off. You know what I'm saying? It's just one of those things where I think lately, I'm going to be honest with you, Maddie. This is what I think is going on. It's a series of topics that I feel are very charged up, that in some cases the Dukes have been right? And we have kind of been like, aha, you know what I'm saying? We've been right. And I get it. Sometimes the audience really doesn't want to hear the I told you so and that kind of energy. And I think that's fair to some extent. But at the same time, I do feel there needs to be accountability for the audience when a lot of times we are consistently attacked. And a lot of times it is unfair. But that's all I really got on it. It comes with the territory. It's professional podcasting. It is what it is. I don't lose too much sleep on it. But I do agree with ladies in the sense of that, you know, we don't want that to be the bulk of the show. We don't want the majority of the show. And the sad part of it is, while I knew it was escalating, I felt we had like a super dope show with like, let's say we had 24 topics. 23 of those were like, 22 of those like super fun, super dope, good engagement, back and forth. And then 1 or 2 I feel were charged up. And those are the 1 or 2 that get blown up, in the comment section, which is unfair, but it is what it is. That's how it is. But I'm just going to be honest. For the most part, I will try not to engage in that as much. But if I do feel that it is grossly incorrect, what is being said, mischaracterized, I just won't try to personalize it. I'll just try to say what my opinion is and what my truth is.
And that's certainly not going to change. I want to make it clear. Yeah. I'm not going to change, and I'm not going to ever ask COG to change. I think that's why people show up. And definitely we're going to continue victory laps. That will never change.
Oh, you keeping them going?
Yeah. That will never change.
Because I'm going to be honest, I think that's the source of it. A lot of it is, remember,
maybe not as hoity-toity, like
exactly.
Maybe a little more genuine. Like instead of calling, like, get in the comment section now, on your knees, beg for an apology. Maybe a little more welcoming.
I could have been more welcoming there, but at the end of it was just, it's one of those things that for months and months you're told this is wrong, your viewpoint is wrong, and then when you see it validated, right? It was kind of like, aha, I just want to be clear kind of thing. And that's it. But we ain't got to let it linger on. We ain't got to let it dominate the show. But we do have to point it out sometimes. That's all I'm saying. And vice versa. We have to take our L's when we are incorrect in things that we see or I see it. Look, I'm not perfect. It's going to be things I'm going to get wrong. You know what I'm saying? So I'm perfectly okay with accountability in that respect.
Well, let's move on and kind of start wrapping this part up, and then we'll talk about games here. Melissa Maxwell has a write-in for you, COG. Love the show, guys, but I have to push back on last week's episode about Disney and EA. COG stating that there's no pushback about Disney's acquisition history is blatantly untrue. There's been plenty of discourse ever since they started buying everything, and there's no shortage of fear/anger of the company running the IP into the ground. So I have to disagree with COG in that regard. And I do see similarities between Disney and Microsoft as mega companies with the money to buy whatever they want. Seeing what Disney is doing with some of its newer properties gives me what I feel is legitimate concern with Microsoft. Anyways, have a Disney is beating Star Wars dead to a dead horse yet again kind of day. Thank you for writing in, Melissa. COG, this one's for you, so please start off wherever you'd like.
No, shout out to Melissa for saying her point. And I do want to state that watching back what I said, I could see how that was misconstrued. So I don't think I did a good enough job of being clear about what I meant. And this is what I meant. When I said no one is saying, I don't see the tiki torches and I was saying all of that, what I mean is, Maddie, look how long we've been doing the show now, right? And we'll have topics like Embracer brought this, Tencent brought that, right? And such studio closed, right? And I'm just going to be honest from what my observation is, and you could tell me, you correct me if I'm wrong. When you look at the comment section, I mean, the questions, whether it be the LSM fam or the comments, whether it be the YouTube fam, you tell me, is it disproportionate as far as how many people are actually responding to those topics as opposed to how is Xbox going to make their money? How is, how many studios do they need? And so on. In my observation, I'm just going to see from what I see, I don't see that level of engagement. So again, where I may have been incorrect in saying no one is talking about it, what I'm really talking about is in our comment section, in our LSM, Realm of the Dukes, in our YouTube, Last Stand Media, when I see those topics, the majority of the comments are not talking about what I consider serious game industry news, right? So let's cycle back to EA. I get it. If you feel that way, you feel like, hey, I got legitimate concern that people are buying up stuff, totally understandable. This is how I equate it to. And people, and I've seen this rhetoric of, we have to be careful. We shouldn't be cheering on corporations buying stuff. This is how I look at it. At the end of the day, there is regulators and there's legal people involved to stop that and make sure things are not a monopoly. And that is their job. That's what they get paid to do. What I'm saying is, if you're a fan of the platform, and I think Clobro had a graphic up recently where it showed Xbox's game studios in the beginning doing what I consider the dark years. You know what I'm saying? Where it was like turn 10, 343. And the best analogy I could give people to understand why the Xbox fan base and why a person like myself is excited for acquisitions. It's like being a fan of a bad franchise. It's like being a Mets fan. It's like being a Mets fan, and now you get new GM Steve Cohen, and he's actually making moves, right? Yeah. It's hard to tell. I think about in basketball, the Miami Heat, when people were like, yo, LeBron went to South Beach, Dwayne Wade, this is terrible. They're just becoming the big three, right? And the perception is what the perception is. What I say, tell a Miami Heat fan who suffered prior to those three getting there that they should not be excited for what their franchise is doing, the investment. You see what I'm saying? And that's what this is. People who have been in those platforms and have suffered are excited about the investment. Now, to everyone's point, yeah, we got to see how it's going to go. I can't predict the future, that they're not going to mismanage, that they're not going to go out of business. But also, you can't predict that it's definitely doom and gloom. It's definitely going to be. So we have to see how it plays out. So that's all I'm saying. It's okay to be concerned, but to tell someone to not be excited about a future that they have been on a platform that they love and they've invested time and that they thought might go away is a tough pill to swallow. So I think that's where the community is right now. You have that split. One side is like, yay. The other side is like, nah, this is death to the industry. And I get it. So I think that's what it is. Shout out to Melissa, because I think I understand her point. I didn't mean it from the standpoint that no one legitimately is talking about it. I meant in the gaming community as far as the realm of the Dukes. When I was looking at that, and again, you tell me if I'm wrong, Matt. If you say no, cog, I do see it.
Like, just to make sure I understand you right, it sounds like you want, let's say, Embracer got someone. You want the same energy as if Xbox were to get someone, right?
Well, it's more so, yeah. It's more so acquisitions, studio closings, right? Those combinations of things where there is drastic change, and you go, whoa, okay, this is something going on. I personally haven't seen the feedback from the communities in the YouTube comments talking about those subjects as opposed to the other ones that I mentioned.
Defining Duke is brought to you by Indeed. If you're hiring for your own business, you're basically trying to play Liza P without parrying. You just need to breathe, take it easy, and keep it simple. If you're hiring, you need Indeed, and here's why. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. So instead of spending hours on multiple job sites searching for candidates with the right skills, Indeed's a powerful hiring platform that can help you do it all by streamlining hiring with powerful tools that help you find matched candidates. One of the reasons I really like Indeed is that they make hiring in one place so easy, because you get one step closer to the hire by immediately matching you with quality candidates. Indeed does the hard work for you by showing you candidates whose resumes on Indeed fit your description immediately after you post, so you can hire a bit faster. Plus, Indeed's the only job site where you can pay for applications that meet your must-have requirements. So what are you waiting for? Start hiring now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/Duke. All for good for a limited time. Claim your $75 credit now at Indeed.com/Duke. Just go to Indeed.com/Duke and support the show by saying you heard about it on this podcast. Indeed.com/Duke. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
So I don't know if this would be qualified as a pushback. I guess the thing I would say that I see is Xbox is buying things people really care about. So that's where the emotional charge is going to be, right? Yes. It's different when Embracer bought Gearbox, and we care about Gearbox. I really like at least Borderlands 2. I should say, Borderlands 1. I have a ton of nostalgia for. I think the Game of the Year edition for that game is fantastic. They did something under the hood for that made it feel really good. But that's something that I don't want to say there's a limited care for, but maybe it doesn't hit everybody. But with Bethesda, you may get the Fallout fan, the Elder Scrolls fan, the Doom fan. Like, you got tendrils where a lot of these purchases, Bungie, especially with the statement they made afterwards, like there's going to be a different energy for that. I think it's not always going to be equal, which I don't think you're exactly calling for, but
I do think as Xbox continues to target not just anyone, but major game publishers, and we'll naturally, our audience has asked us who's next. We'll talk about that. They're going to continue to target that. People are going to continue, like Melissa, to be scared of a potential Disney-like situation with the IP management. And so I think the concern of the richest company in the world having all these IP, your point of view in my eyes is valid. Like, yeah, like I think Xbox fans who went through the one generation, that was the system they picked and it didn't pan out well, can actually be excited and should be excited because you have the largest IP library that the company's ever had with a subscription service that's doing the best it ever has. Like there's a lot of magic that can be made here with all of this talent, but also down the long stretch fills out, let's say Sarah doesn't follow up as the next leader, culture change, greed, corruption. I mean, right now I think it's really good for the Phil generation. I wonder about deep beyond that, how far the culture goes. And I think that's where the fear lies is, I don't even know if Phil will handle it well, but at least there's a trust, like this guy gets it. He likes games. He cares about games. So we'll see on that. But that's how I read it is I think the fear with Xbox is they have so much now and they're going to get more. And how much is enough? And obviously when it's stuff we all care about, like, you know, the world's biggest shooter in Call of Duty, controlling that, it's like, Phil may say after 10 years, like, you know, within that 10-year window, like, yeah, we're going to honor PlayStation, Nintendo. We want you to be a community. Let's say he retires and then, you know, we have a Don Matrick moment. He comes in and he's like, wait, you're telling me we can make this much if we limit it to us? And that's how quickly it can change.
Absolutely.
With the Disney Plus like service. So I think the fear is legit. And I think that's why it's mainly around Xbox. And I think it'll scale with PlayStation because make no mistake that after Activision is now officially part of the fold and their fight failed, they now have to play the same game Xbox did, which they already were with like buying Nixus and buying Bungie. It's going to be a lot of retaliatory purchasing for sure. And I think you'll start to see the same energy elsewhere over time.
No, it's a valid point. And I think that it's just it goes back to my point of no one can truly predict the future. No one can truly see how this is going to go because you made a valid point of scenarios that could happen, right? And those are all valid scenarios. And I think for me, it's just one of those things where it's like, I'm a realist. I'm not a pessimist. I'm a realist. This is where we are. Regardless to our emotionality of we don't like something, this is where we are. So I'm going to deal with the here and now. And I think the point that I do want to stress is as far as at some point, that is the regulatory process. That is the job of regulators to say, hey, Microsoft, you can't do that. And that's why we went through this, and we'll get into it, the whole lengthy thing, you know, with the CMA, the UK and all that other stuff. And I guess it's just one of those things, not that I'm disagreeing with you, it's just where I disagree with some that I am not willing to vilify and say it is doom and gloom yet. I'm just not there. And I'm always going to stand on that part, you know what I'm saying? But I understand someone like you said, and like Melissa said, where they would go, hey, I have concerns that they might not be able to manage it. That's valid. But in the same way I validate that, all I ask is just say I validate someone who says, hey, this is they're in a situation based on the alternative that they were in prior, that there's a lot of people like myself that are hopeful that, hey, no, this could turn around. This could be a good situation for Activision that was spiraling down, that for ZeniMax that was spiraling down, and that kind of thing. But that's pretty much it. It totally get it. Shout out to Melissa on this one, because I saw the feedback on this, and I definitely wanted to address, because I definitely don't think I verbalized correctly what I was trying to say as far as everyone.
That's the pain of a podcast. I mean, I think of it as the pain of a listener, as they like continue, you hear us just continue to go on this point that they think that we're so wrong about.
Right.
They're like, "When will he shut up? Oh my God, he's still going. He's still talking. He still thinks that. That's great." And he goes off the rails from there. Listening to podcasts can be infuriating if you don't agree with us. That's for
all
sure.
Good. It's all good. We could agree to disagree.
All right, let's get into the news here. We appreciate everyone who went through that with us. Let's hit the reset button and get into well, we're an emotional fan base, are we not? Here's one that even in our own Defining Duke Discord, there was a lot of back and forth on the success or not of this. Halo Infinite has hit its highest player count on PC in over a year, dating back as far as January 2022, if you include Xbox as well, thanks to the launch of Season 5, which has been quite successful. Furthermore, it finds itself doing well in the sales department, as it is the 6th best-selling game in the US on Steam and number 15 globally. The content won't stop there, as Halo 3 Refueled's playlist arrives on November 14th to Halo Infinite, including remakes of The Pit, Guardian, High Ground, and Narrows, along many more. Hayden Glass writes in, howdy, Maddie117 and Combat Evolved Cog. What are your thoughts on Halo Infinite Season 5? As someone who's been playing the game since launch, it is unquestionably in the best state it has ever been in. The new leadership at 343 has really turned it around. I feel like the ship has sailed on Halo being the mainstream juggernaut it once was, and now 343 is hyper-focused on pleasing the hardcore Halo fans who are still here. That's just my take, though. What say the Dukes? So, Cog, I don't know, did you have a chance to try out any of Season 5? I did as well. Okay, great. So we'll talk a bit about that here, but what do you make of the resurgence here? We talked a bit about extensively last week about the player count, where it was at. Would Season 5 do what it needed to? Would it see the beginning of that bounce back? And would it need the Taken King moment? So what do you make about what is, at least on Steam, almost 20,000 concurrent players, whereas last week when we were talking it was 5, 6. So quite the bump here. Yeah. So as the live service dude, I want you to go first.
No, it's a good start. I feel it's a good sign, that they're definitely, especially PC, which we're going to get into today, as far as where they are there, because, the PC community really respects a quality product. And remember, initially, there was a lot of desyncing issues. There was a lot of technical issues that prevented them from really shining initially at launch. And now we've got that. You've got the content. You've got the stability of the live team and the monetization model finally hitting its stride, finally doing what we intended it to do from the launch. And from what I'm seeing and what I'm playing, first of all, what I play, which I'll talk about later, it's really impressive. It's really impressive what I'm seeing. So look, I still look at it as a slow trending up. I'm not going to get too crazy. I'm looking at Xbox most played. It's still outside the top 30. I mean, it's on the list. It's coming up. You know what I'm saying? But on Steam, that's a good sign, though. I love to see that aspect, because that was the market they really didn't have any foothold in prior, right? So you want to appease them, make sure that they're good. And now I still feel you need the substantial drop. Otherwise, or whether it be the battle royale or any other campaign stuff, if so. Mm-hmm. But I like it, man. And we're going to talk about it. It's definitely playing well right now. And I will definitely get into that later. But what you thinking about the resurgence?
I think that this is potentially, if they continue to support it the way they do, I'm neutral on it. Like, I think it's great to see that the game is doing well. And I know, I can just tell by when we interact with our audience, I know a lot of people want me to shower this game with praise. I know it. But the reason I'm neutral is not because I want to hate it. I'm neutral strictly because with Halo Infinite, this is a game where we saw the start and we saw where it ended up. And it's as Hayden wrote in perfectly, it is in the best state it's been, and it's only up from here. The reason I stay neutral is I will enter that more hype, optimistic point if this is the start of every new season providing that bump. I think this is the beginning of Halo Infinite finding its way back, starting the comeback. This feels, I know there were more updates that marked the corner being turned, like when they added Forge, or I know with this one they have Forge AI. I know there have been moments where people went like, this is it, like this should bring people in, but I think it's now the culmination of all that. So to me, this marks where the comeback can actually begin. It's not the explosive numbers people are probably looking for, but this is what's going to matter. We're now, okay, you got a little pool and people are going to join with season 6, 7. And it does still go back to what I think Cog said. Sorry if we're redundant here. Taken King moment. I think once you hit that, I mean, you're going to see double that number, triple that number, maybe, because it's Halo at the end of the day. And while I agree, I don't think Halo is the mainstream juggernaut. It's always been Infinite a fun game to play. And I think with enough hype, which is building now, starting here, it's kind of like Cyberpunk, where you hear the murmuring with updates like 1.4, 1.5. Like,
good point.
Oh, they added NPCs jumping off of buildings. That's crazy. That's yep. That's not going to pull everyone in, but that's like an element, a layer. And when Edge Runners hit, it's like, that was the moment, right? So Infinite's on that trajectory.
right? It's now officially on the track. I wouldn't have said before it's on the comeback track. Now it is. That's the positive improvement to me. It's like Infinite can come back in my eyes now. And that's good that they're hanging with it. And they're doing exactly one thing that we said they should be doing, which is stay quiet, talk when you got something in the show, and release it when you say, like, the first time you announce something. I think those little efforts to have consistency is great. And knowing that it's not just season 5 and we're done, but that, hey, in a month from now, you get not only a new playlist, but a nostalgia fueled of some of the best Halo multiplayer field playlist powered by Forge and everything. Like, that's exciting, right? So this is, in my eyes, the start. And that's awesome to see. I am excited for it. And as someone who played it, the new maps are great. I like how, I think it's Prism. They add a bit of purple to it, which is nice.
Purple. A lot of purple.
Covenant purple.
Yeah, I think
it's, I don't know. It just, that little artistic change goes a long way, because one of my biggest complaints with Halo Infinite, this is not like the weather, the biomes, right? The diversity that made me love Combat Evolved. Of course, the other Halo games have it, but Combat Evolved is the one where I feel like every level had a visual theme. Like you had in 343 Guilty Spark, the swamp, the rain, but then you also had an assault on the control room, the snow. And to me, Halo's about snow. Like, Halo needs snow. If Infinite gets snow, I promise you, people will pop for it. Like, they got to do it.
Snow map confirmed.
They're getting there, though. I like the visual tweaks. It always felt good to play. It was nice to pick up a couple of new weapons. So, again, this is where I feel like it's the culmination of everything. Like, I see all these little things that were announced in previous seasons or updates. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, but that didn't pull me back in. But now seeing them all together, again, this feels like they're on track for the comeback. So I'm pleased. I like what they've done here.
I like what they're doing.
Agreed. Let's stick with Halo, Cog. We got more here.
Yeah.
Our good friend Hines, who we talked about with his Forza review, had a little bit of a scoop on the next Halo game. And Cog, I'm excited to get your thoughts on this one, sir, because Defining Duke listeners, this should sound a little familiar. Quote, do I have any info on the Halo campaign? The short answer is nothing specific. What I can say, what I know anyway, is that yes, they do have a team working on the next Halo campaign. It is part of the restructure that is building the next generation of Halo on Unreal. I don't know if I'm a betting man. I think I told a friend the other day that the earliest I would expect to see another Halo single-player campaign outside of Firefight and stuff they're doing in Infinite is a couple of years. It's going to be a while, so don't hold your breath, end quote. Dylan writes in, hello, fellas. Ains over at Season Gaming stated that, yes, there is a team working at 343 on the next Halo campaign, a part of the next generation of Halo on Unreal Engine. Let's talk about it. I love this and hate this at the same time. I love playing a brand new story in Halo, but hate that it's going to be another 4 to 5 years for another one. The Halo universe is so rich and vast, and the fact that there isn't a Halo Wars type of game every 2 to 3 years, not focused on Chief, is always mind-boggling to me. We also still don't know what Halo Project Certain Affinity is doing, if they in fact are still working on it. I love Halo, and I currently love what 343 is doing with it. I just wish we could get a 343 developer direct so they could address the fans on what the true future of Halo looks like. Thanks, and as always, have yourself an A1 day. Thank you for writing in, Dylan. So, Cog, you've talked a lot about Unreal and Halo. We got your man Ains backing you up here. So walk us through this. What do you make of what's being said here? And it is a few years to the next Halo campaign, just a little too long for the fan base.
Yeah, that's the question, right? That is the question. Shout out to Ains. Yeah, definitely, confirming some things that I had heard. And as far as Unreal and stuff like that. And this, I love the mindset like this, where it's like, selfishly, I want that Halo campaign. I want that joint. I want Unreal. Pump that in my veins. Let's go. And I have to think about the reality of how this is working. Right now, Halo Infinite multiplayer, they're on the current resurgence. We do know, obviously, the elephant in the room, our boy, Joseph Staten, has gone. Mm-hmm. So, that who is taking probably a lot of control of the, single player, the cooperative stuff that I want to continue the story of the Master Chief universe. If I had to guess, I'm going to say that they're probably going to ride this out. What Pierre and the team right now are doing is what I consider the Master Chief Collection treatment, where you pump this thing up. You got the body out of a flatlining state. You're here. It's off the table. It's alive. He's functional. but he's going to stay where he's at. We're going to continue to give you maps. We're going to continue to give you content. We may give you one substantial, maybe we give you the battle royale. Maybe we give you one last little update. But for the most part, this will all be multiplayer focused stuff. That's the bet I'm going with. My gut is telling me I hope I'm wrong. I hope they give us single player content in Halo Infinite. But to me, the name, unless this is the other scenario. Let me present one other scenario to my point that I am going to make.
Okay.
The first scenario is what I think is going to happen, which is they're going to just do what I said, multiplayer, and then 4 or 5 years, here comes Halo blah blah blah. Right? Halo blah 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 with Unreal Engine, continuing a story of Master Chief, and boom, here we go. Right? 4 or 5 years. Or the only way I think I'm wrong and that changes is if Infinite continues every season, like Maddie said, just, oh my God, here we go. Maybe Microsoft then says, you know what? Maybe we pump some more resources back into it, because the vibe I got when the debacle went down, it was that they were pulling, remember, people got let go. They were pulling resources away. So
got hit hardest with the layoffs when it came to Xbox's gaming division.
So as much as I want to be optimistic and hope that second thing happens, I'm still going to stick with my gut and say the first thing happens. It'll be Halo the Endless, Halo whatever, Unreal Engine, 4 or 5. We get a quicker turnaround on, we ain't got to wait 7-8 years for a Halo, right? And they really master this Unreal Engine and bring this thing forward. So I'm pulling for them because I personally don't want to wait, super long for it, but I want them to do it right. But what's your thoughts on it?
Disagree a little bit with you. I think
What's
Halo Infinite, I'm sticking my guns. I think it needs to go away for a while and let Infinite kind of be the sign of the comeback, build up the faith, build up the trust, and have a couple of people dip their toes in the pool so that by the time a new Halo is ready, that there is this explosion of like, okay, this is a good reset point for all of us. And that's what this next Halo needs to feel like, in my opinion. It needs to feel like, I know Infinite was supposed to be this, so it's going to look a little silly, but it needs to feel like a new beginning for the franchise. And it should, if you're doing a new engine, new tech on it, it should feel like a new beginning. The reason I say this is there's a lot of lack of trust, and you just need to go away for a while. Not only to make sure people can miss Halo a little bit, but again, I've said this from the start that they need to protect 343. Like Xbox, the one thing I'll say that I think they were majorly wrong with 343 is letting them go out and act a fool constantly. I think they could have done some preventative measures to avoid some blows being dealt to them. And they should have been more on top of that when protecting their most prestigious IP at the time. I don't think it's that case anymore, but that's how much damage is dealt that we can't really talk about Halo as the bona fide number one IP on the platform. Maybe it's the most identifiable and synonymous one, but it's definitely not what's drawing people to buy the system. So I think it's good they go away, because I think right now with how much content you have the pipeline, and we'll talk about how much stuff is selling and how much money Xbox is making. If your Xbox is a business, you got to look at it this way. It's like, we're doing this without Halo being at its A+ game.
Right.
And I think they're going to start stashing stuff. I know it sounds crazy. They're going to start stashing stuff for the next gen. I don't think they're in a rush to get Halo out by the end of this gen. Support Infinite for the rest of this gen. But if you can launch your next system, let's add it to the list. I talked about Elder Scrolls 6 being in that timeline and a new Halo game. I think that's, again, like Xbox hasn't had Xbox One had a really strong start, in my opinion, at least. I really like the library there. But when you look at the Series console launching with nothing, that should be one of those 2022 email moments where Phil goes, this literally can never happen again.
Right.
And it wouldn't surprise me if they're looking at because it's not just making the game, they're building the tool set to then make the game. So it's going to be a while, no doubt. It's not going to snap together. And I think that's a good thing. I think it's good that we have a chance to miss Halo, and that the heat is on 343 to do something right, but the pressure, in the sense of like public pressure, everyone's leaking shit about them, breathing down their necks, is starting to evaporate a bit, where they can focus on just doing the right thing. The only hope I have is they don't take so long, like Halo 5 to Infinite, where it's just like a tale that will always repeat itself. Is
however long the game is in development for, people think it just infinitely gets better, right? You spend so much time on that when maybe half of that was a completely different project, as we know with Halo.
That's what we heard. Yeah, question for you in reference to that is, I just want to be clear with your point. You are saying you would, let's just say a new Halo game, like I was saying, is available 4 to 5 years from now. You would prefer it even be longer so that it's not even in the series generation. You want it like series, whatever they call it, hybrid, whatever. So you would prefer that new Halo game in a longer stretch of time.
I would. And I think it would encourage what Xbox needs to do anyway. I think they need more spin-off games for their major franchises. I do. And, but we're talking mainline Halo games. That should be a massive moment, right? And that shouldn't be rushed. We've seen here in this month with PlayStation and Nintendo, where I know maybe Spider-Man isn't like one of their IP, I guess, like Sony Pictures, you could argue as such, but you look at the treatment there, right? You look at what Mario Bros. Wonders is doing. You're looking at what Spider-Man is doing. And obviously the hope is that Xbox continues to treat all their IP on that level, but Halo should be in that area, right? It should be we can't miss. This has to be almost as close to perfect as we can get it.
Absolutely.
And so if that takes longer, I mean, not every franchise is going to get that treatment. Halo should. Again, I don't think Xbox is here without it. It's a shame that it's not in the spot it used to be, but it can take it. It can try to take the crown back. It can make a fight for that. No doubt about it. I mean, look at the numbers when they first launched as a free-to-play game. People are ready to support it. So it's just now the trust is broken. People are kind of tired of 343. So they have a lot to prove, and let them take their time in doing that.
Of course.
It's like there's a ranking list here of like studios that deserve time to cook and to kind of go away. And it's literally 343 at number 1, and then number 2 is Arcane Austin. That's the end of the list I got in my head.
List. Look, I get you. I think the only thing we disagree, I think we agree, but the only thing we disagree on is just the length of time. I think my feeling is if it's ready in 5 to 6 or 4 to 5, then I wouldn't just necessarily push it back for the sake of pushing back if it's ready. I mean, that's just where I'm at. But I understand your mindset that let it go away for an extended period of time, and then, hey, maybe you start off the next generation of Xbox consoles with a new Halo. I understand that too, kind of thing. Yeah. But we'll see. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out this generation. We know clearly that it seems to be basically what Ains is kind of hearing, what I have heard on some levels, that there is an investment to Halo for the future on some level. They are not giving up on it, because that was the fear. The fear was like, 343 messed up so bad, they going, dead it, and it's a wrap. And I will say that I'm with you on, man, I wish we could get some spinoffs. I really do. I really wish in that interim you at least hear about a development or something like that in a different type of genre. That would be cool. I believe what Dylan was talking about was Halo Wars. A lot of people like that. Maybe it wasn't as successful, but maybe you try a different genre to continue the story in between time, that kind of energy. So we'll see.
Let's talk a bit about physical games, shall we? I have 2 stories here we're going to combine. Starting off, Best Buy confirms it's ending its sales of physical movies and TV shows in 2024, both in-store and online. It will continue to sell video games with the following quote: "To state the obvious, the way we watch movies and TVs is much different today than it was decades ago. Making this change gives us more space and opportunity to bring customers new and innovative tech for them to explore, discover, and enjoy," end quote. Meanwhile, Limited Run Games CEO Josh Fairhurst said he's heard rumblings that physical Xbox games will be dropped by Walmart. Meanwhile, over at Ubisoft, they were asked about the future of physical media and games, and here's what they had to say, quote, "There's a collector edition market. There's the aspect of gifting physical items and allowing access for people to be able to easily purchase a game in a store and gift them to their friends or family. Some people will always want to own the physical disc. I just don't think it's going away. Do I think physical sales might get low over time? Sure, but will it ever completely go away? I don't think so," end quote. So, tale of 2 stories here. ASIC has the write-in. A fine how do you do to you Dukes. The CEO of Limited Run Games recently took to Twitter/X, commenting that he had heard rumblings that Walmart will stop selling physical Xbox games sometime in the new year. This came after the news that Best Buy will be halting the sale of physical media as soon as Q1 next year. As a person who has always preferred physical media, it's wild to think that the next year there will be a huge shift towards digital. I guess it's unsurprising as PlayStation and to an astronomically greater extent Xbox both seem to be prioritizing digital-only systems and cloud gaming platforms moving forward. I'm an optimist and would love if Xbox made the ultimate consumer-friendly move and introduced some sort of program where you could have a disc license transfer to a digital license as we slowly approach the all-digital future, but I'm afraid that's just wishful thinking. Would love to know your thoughts regarding this, or if there is any precedent of a company doing something like this in the past, having, I guess I should just start buying all my games digitally kind of day. Thank you, Azek, for writing in. So I would like to jump this one off by saying that here's my concession that I'm going to offer Xbox here, and PlayStation and Nintendo. Yeah. I am okay with your all digital future approach. My one request, just make the games available, man. Make the games available. You know, I want backwards compatibility. I want to be able to access these things. The main reason most of us, it's not just about play. It's about having access to our past at any moment in time instead of buying the original hardware, buying the original disc.
Yes.
And I understand, and we'll talk about this extensively with Activision because they have a lot of licensed games there. There's a lot of hurdles to get over, but there are tons of people who have played Spider-Man 2018 and don't know that every single bit of DNA of that game was built off of Spider-Man 2, that movie tie-in game. That was a revolutionary video game. And I don't feel nearly enough people know that. There's nostalgia for it for some, but I don't think a lot of people know how important. That was like an Arkham Asylum moment in the mid-2000s. And I feel like we just lose that. I feel like we do. And that's where I'm going to stop there because I don't think I need to beat a dead horse here and keep going on and on and on about, oh, my physical games, oh, my game preservation. But truthfully, I mean, I'm not surprised that Walmart's going to drop physical Xbox games because Xbox has already done it themselves. They're not even putting the full game on the disc. And people know that. And so they're not buying. They're like, why would I? People, I guarantee how this happened. People are buying brand new games from Xbox. They're throwing them in their Xbox and they're like, yo, I'm still downloading something. What is this? Meanwhile, you got a great team like Insomniac who says, yo, full games on the disc.
Right.
Play it just as is. Don't worry about it. There is an update, however, but you could play it without the patches. I'm like, thank you for getting it. It takes a little extra effort, a little extra time, but this stuff matters. It does. And I just don't see enough effort from the platform holders outside of lip service to make it where we can access our games. I mean, Nintendo to me is arguably the most egregious because they monetize backwards compatibility now. They're like, here's a subscription service to get these old fucking things you bought years ago. At least let me go on a storefront and buy them individually, a la carte. But they're just stripping all of that down. And I feel like, not to sound too preachy, but greed is consuming what is arguably more important, which is our history. We don't legitimize ourselves if we can't reflect. That's just how it goes. So I'm okay with an all digital future. I'll download friggin' everything. Just let me be able to download almost everything, at least. I know there are going to be special cases for certain games, but I know I'm begging. I'm making a fool's wish here, but but I seriously think like that is the only way you can convince people that an all digital future is worth it. Can I get everything that I already had? Yes, great. Like it's like Disney Plus launching up, and they're like, you can't watch Toy Story 2. Sorry, that's old. That's old shit. People will be like, in that industry, are you fucking kidding me, Disney? No Toy Story 2? Watch, Toy Story 2 isn't even on the service or some shit, but I got to double check that just to make sure. Let's see. Anyway, you go ahead. Let me know what you think.
Nah, look, you know you're preaching. I don't know how to resolve it because is it there? We confirm?
I just had to make sure. Yeah, I just had to make sure. I was like, I haven't opened up Disney Plus in a while, so
professional fight. We good. Look, this is fair, and I just don't know how to resolve it because, again, we could have the platform holder. We could say Xbox, you need to have every game, being able to be accessible, right? And we need, because of this digital future and stuff that we're going into. And I get it. I want the same ability to be able to play older games without the issue. From everything I'm told, it's more complicated than that. It's more, again, everything comes down to the licensing and the actual, publisher and how they want to handle it. And then if these things expire, Xbox as a platform, if they want to do it, they have to hunt them down. They have to say, hey, okay, who holds the rights to this? This has expired. So now Xbox as a platform, let's be honest, there's no incentive for them to go through every single publisher unless there's some type of, you've been acquired, or you know what I'm saying? There's some type of incentive to make them to do it. Now, I think the overall gaming good, right, which we talked about, like from a museum standpoint, from a, historical record standpoint, this should be accessible. It's just who's going to maintain that. And then also the cost of the service of keeping them online. This is how businesses work. They're going to sit there and say, okay, we have 5, viewers, 5 active users on, I'm just making something up, Titanfall 1 multiplayer, right? This is a lot of times why these things get shut down. They're looking at who's actually engaging, and they're like, yo, we're spending thousands of dollars, millions of dollars keeping this stuff up. No one's playing. So where your point is, this is where the greed, I guess, so to speak, because they're like, okay, well, we could save this money. We could be doing other things, right? Again, I don't know how to solve it because I had a little bit of discussion with Addict on this, and not that he didn't mention in this particularly that he wants the government to come in towards, kind of saving the preservation of games. But we had a little debate where he alluded to he's very frustrated with broken games, that no other industry launches games broken, products broken, and gets away with to fix it now. And I feel him on that. The only pushback I gave him, I said, look, the minute we start getting the government in, right, and I'm from the era of the Mortal Kombat, you are not allowed to express yourself. You are not allowed to have violence. We should ban all video games. Video games are bad for kids. I come from that era. That's the last thing I necessarily want. And again, I'm not trying to attack Addict right here. This is just a debate about what solutions we could come up with. He was just spitballing, kind of thing. So I don't know, man. This is tough. And the last point is, where Xbox is going. This is, they literally sell an all digital console. Last point I will say is I am curious though, and this is not to their benefit, as far as how are they going, if there's not going to be a physical Xbox version in Walmart or Best Buy, how are you promoting it? You just giving the people again the box with the code, or because I know you're not losing shelf space. Like you're not gonna have any representation of your
So I wonder if it's gonna be those kind of like gift cards. You know what I'm talking
about? That'll be interesting, right? That'll be interesting. Because again, from everybody I speak to, especially in Japan, this is why they get thrashed in Japan. Like they don't even have their stuff out there for the most part in the front. Now that may be government and nationalism stuff, but it's something that they're gonna have to tackle and address at some point. I hope there's a solution for this, man. I really do, because I do feel you. I want to be able to go back to old games that I love and be able to boot them up. I think if we're going to do a digital future, then that should go hand in hand with digital preservation. And I don't think anyone's come up with an adequate digital preservation model yet, and that's the problem.
Absolutely. So, Cog, let's talk about good selling games here, shall we?
Oh, let's do that.
Starfield was the best-selling game of September, instantly becoming the 7th best-selling game of 2023 year to date. Starfield ranked as the best-selling title of the month across both Xbox and PC, with PC being its lead sales platform. When compared to other Septembers for Xbox, note that specific stat there, Xbox units sold is the highest it's been in the ecosystem since September of 2016, and revenue the highest since September 2014. So pretty noteworthy that around the holiday period that Starfield has brought the best Xbox revenue and units sold in the last at least half a decade. So pretty good stuff here. But Cog, let's talk with Steve Forgione and then get a bit into this, shall we? Steven writes, hey Dukes, with Starfield claiming the spot as September's best-selling game and 7th overall for the year, will the narrative surrounding Game Pass killing sales finally die down? Also, do you think the concept of the early access bundle will play a role in the sales success of future Xbox titles? Thanks, and have a Halo is so back kind of day. Just to tie in here,
Liza P also sold 1 million copies, which is one of our items here on the news.
Salute.
You know, that is there too. Day one
Game Pass,
and it has sold 1 million copies. So Starfield, one of the best-selling games of the year. I will get the chart again here, Cog, just to size it up with what it's outselling. But I know that the 7th best-selling game of the year is Starfield, and the 8th best-selling game of the year is Mortal Kombat 1. So these two were titans in the same month, duking it out, and both found a ton of success. And here I have the top-selling games of the year. So we have Hogwarts Legacy at 1, Tears of the Kingdom at 2, Madden NFL 24 at 3. Okay? They're not learning, Cog. They're not learning.
No other place to go.
Diablo 4 is at number 4.
Modern
Modern Warfare 2 is at number 5. 2022 Modern Warfare 2. And that's crazy.
Wow.
And Star Wars Jedi Survivor at number 6, Starfield 7, Mortal Kombat 1, 8, Resident Evil 4, 9, and MLB The Show 23 at 10. Now, that's another day one Game Pass game, by the way. Other thing I wanted to throw out here, just a fun fact. In the top selling games for September of 2023, at number 19, Sea of Thieves.
Wow.
Sea of Thieves.
That's crazy. I didn't even peep that. Good catch.
Yeah.
I didn't even peep that.
Sea of Thieves. And beating out Diablo 4. It's right there next to Elden Ring. Very impressive here, man. Ben's throwing a party, but they have very impressive stuff here, man. So, yeah, just want to throw that out there. So, Cog, Steven is asking about the narrative of Game Pass killing game sales, but we're seeing that one thing that we were running a victory lap about with the 10 million player count was like, you're celebrating too early, Dukes. That's not translating the sales. We don't know if it is. So what do you make now when looking here at this stat, how successful Starfield really is? We now have some sort of numbers to back it up, if you will.
I'm sorry. I have to, you know what I'm saying, in this case. But look, here's the thing. You know, this is really, really impressive. And I'm gonna be honest with you, Maddie. Like, I didn't expect even on this level. If you would have told me top 5 MPD for the month of September, I'll say, oh, victory. You know, it's in Game Pass. You know, that's strong. That's a good sign. I mean, look, Mortal Kombat is no slouch. And this is an amazing Mortal Kombat. Then we're looking at EA Sports FC. This is, what is it? You know, FIFA. This is an international sport. Again, those are the ones that they're competing with in the same month. That's because when you see new, that's who you're going up against, right? So I have to be honest. And then here's the other thing I got to be surprised too a little bit. Baldur's Gate did drop, right? Baldur's Gate did drop, and I didn't see it on the list this time. But what basically coming into it, we knew that Starfield, from a financial standpoint, still even was going to have competition and these other great games coming out, right? So this is beyond impressive. As far as the PC being also one of the generating factors to leading the way for this charge as far as the MPD, is huge for them, right? That also shows Steam platform viability. You know, it also shows that, you know, people were engaging in that way, which is huge for them. I do agree with what's the homie? Is it Steven?
Yeah, Steven.
That mentioned, you know, with the early bundle, right? The early bundle, having the people actually buying, because I know I was one of those people, right? I went and got the, you know, I'm not waiting. I went and got the, you know, the collector's edition, the Star, whatever, the Constellation edition, all that stuff. This is tremendous because this definitely, with Xbox's biggest title, this definitely proved one of the earlier narratives that they themselves said, which is, hey, Game Pass actually promotes sales, right? And this is on the grandest scale. I'll be honest, I didn't expect them to win NPD. And the last point I'll say is what's super impressive is the fact that they're on the year-to-date list in 1 month. Like, basically, in the month of September, they are for the whole year, right? Number 7 ahead of juggernauts. You know what I'm saying? Mortal Kombat, Resident Evil. What's the other joint?
We got Dead Island 2,
Final Fantasy 16. Street Fighter 6 is a beast.
Yeah.
So in 1 month, so to speak, in that short month, they outsold a juggernaut that is a fighting. And again, the last point I'll say is that we're going up against live service games. Starfield is a single player experience with no microtransactions. That is as pure and as core as it gets. So it shows me the viability of Bethesda games. The RPG, the Western RPG, is still alive and well. And this is tremendous, man. I think this is a well-deserved victory lap for them. There was tremendous pressure coming in, and now we have the data, right? And that's why, again, not going to get on my "you told you so" crazy. But all I'm saying is that I look at the engagement. Remember what I told people? If you want to get an idea on the Xbox platform, go to the most played Xbox game. Go to Xbox most played. And the fact that thing was even in the top 5, the top whatever, I was like, yo, let's see where it's at right now. Just out of
I think it got moved out of top 5 when I last looked, which is where...
Yeah, it's like 7 now, right? and I'm like, bro, we're in in October, November. It's still in the top 10, a single player game. It's a cool story, man. So yeah, shout out to Bethesda, shout out to the entire team. This is a well-deserved victory, and we'll get into the spoiler cast and stuff. We talk about stuff.
Yes, we are playing the spoiler cast this week, so keep an eye out for that on DDU.
I'm proud of them. This is a shining moment. This is something. Not only is it a shining moment for Bethesda, last point I'll say, it's a shining moment for Xbox with their vision as far as Game Pass, promoting sales, and with their biggest IP, they shined the biggest from an engagement standpoint. So kudos to the teams.
And, I've seen a lot of aggressive criticism of Starfield on a performance metric, like it should be doing more. And I just think this shows what we've been saying from the start, when we already knew Starfield passed every internal metric, as you said, and had been reported, that this game is what Xbox needed. I know it's not the 90 plus darling. I know a lot of Xbox fans are looking for that. Who knows when we get that? I guess really high is Hi-Fi Rush 90 plus?
I think it was like high 80s. It was like 80, if I had to guess, like 80s.
89 or something. I think it was close, but
yeah, I think it was close.
Nonetheless, I know people are searching for that, but I think we're getting just a little too wrapped up in the review aggregates and not recognizing when success is laid before us, right? And this isn't just a Starfield thing. So many people look at the reviews. Payday 3 is a top 5 selling game for that month. I know it came out that month, but that game was broken for over half of the month. Over half of the month, and it outsold NBA 2K24. Now, granted, it says here that it doesn't include the digital sales for 2K24, but my point being is, like, I just feel like we're not seeing the forest for the trees here. Like, we're intentionally missing the point sometimes by looking at Metacritic, OpenCritic, and not seeing player count and not assuming to some degree that this is going to translate into sales, and that if Xbox is mildly accurate about Game Pass users buying games more, or Starfield having early access and hitting 2 million users, like we already knew it or 1 million concurrent, like we already knew at least 1 million plus people had bought the game in that early access period, which was, again, this game was on track to do. I was comparing the numbers on our show, on track to do Forza Horizon 5 numbers. And that is a game that everyone by and large says is a tremendous success. So, and granted, that was also the 90 plus Metacritic game that Xbox fans have been looking for, but I know it's a car game, so it kind of doesn't count for many people. But I'm just saying in an elongated way here that Starfield is the success Xbox wanted. It may not be the widely celebrated critical darling. It's probably the most divisive game to come out this year, frankly, for fans, for consumers. But if you're looking at this, if we as because some people think oftentimes that, like, when we're saying things that are good for Xbox, that we too like it, there's a difference. I'm saying if I'm Xbox, I'm very pleased. I'm very, very pleased across the board here that it's a positively received game and that it's doing really well in every metric.
I think the other thing too is, as far as I know there's been pushback when Xbox puts out, 2 million players are playing, 3 million players. People rolled their eyes. People would say, that's not a metric that is important. But what we're seeing is, remember, initially it was like 6 million, right? With Starfield at some point early when it first started to come out.
First week, I think.
Exactly. And what we're seeing is, if they're excited about that, right? the thing you also have to look at, and I tell people all the time, that's why I said, look at that most played games. I'm getting confirmation. A lot of this stuff comes from daily active users, monthly. It's a term in corporate. It's called DAU and MAU. That's the metric, bro. Like, so a lot of times, again, social media, us as hardcore gamers, we have our idea of how things should be. At the end of the day, these are the things that matter to success for a lot of companies, and this is a critical success for them. And I'm shocked. I'll be honest. I'm even shocked that it's to this level. But yeah, again, kudos to them. This helps with their vision, is what they're trying to do. If they could continue, not everything has to be. I think I've said the avalanche effect. Not everything has to be a 90 Metacritic, right? If you continue to have the 80s to 85s, right, and you have this level of engagement, and you know how we know, Sea of Thieves, which used to get laughed at. A lot of people, hardcore gamers will roll their eyes. We shout, Ben, love you, right? We roll our eyes sometimes. Oh, look at the engagement, bro. It's on that list. Like, that is impressive to see Sea of Thieves there. So, again, they've already kind of, gotten their live service bag with that, and that has gone through iterations. But that's what's important to Microsoft and Xbox's success if they're going to do this Game Pass model and so on and so forth. So, yeah, kudos to them.
Let's move on here and talk about City Skylines 2 for a moment. I thought it was interesting that the developers for the game, as we talked about, they delayed the console version. The PC version is still on track to come out this month. And they actually warned people that performance problems are inbound. They said, we have not achieved the benchmark we targeted. Digitaco writes in, hey, Super Dookie bros. The City Skyline 2 developers just put out a warning about the performance of the game, but still plan on releasing the game for PC next week. This seems like the right move to me, but I'm curious what the Dukes think. Is this a win for transparency, or should the developer have delayed the game? Thanks, and have a mediocre day. Thank you, Digitaco. We appreciate that. I don't know. This is like a backhanded compliment in the way it's like, thanks with a question mark. Okay. I don't know. Like, that just tells me get it on Game Pass or don't get it at all until it's ready to go. I think that means you delay the game personally, but I like that they're being open about it. But it's almost like you wear a bold fit and your friend, like, you show up, you're feeling good, and like everyone knows that fit's whack. You know the fit's whack, and you got that one dude who's like, bro, that's fucking ugly, man. Like, what are you wearing?
What you doing out here, bro?
Yeah. So it's like, is that a win for transparency when you killed my vibe for the night? So I'm curious, Cog, where you stand on it, because I think you delay the game.
I think you delay the game too. I'm shocked that like they had to put out a statement that we're not happy. Where we have not achieved the benchmark we targeted. So if you haven't achieved it, why is it out? like that's just my thing. Like, why is it out? I'm very, and again, that's usually the financial stuff, and that's unfortunate because either they were forced to put it out, publish, or I have no idea. But if you have to make a statement, shout out to, I know a lot of people looking forward to this game. I remember when it was showcased, there's a community for it. So
huge community for this.
Yeah, huge. So yeah, Game Pass, wait for me. That's where I'm at.
Got a couple of little tidbits here, and then we'll get more into the Xbox side of things. Shinji Mikami looks set to make a return after leaving Tango Gameworks. He posted a selfie with a quote that said, "Now that I've broken the spell of non-competition on myself, I guess I should get back to work." And so this is what I think happens to, Cog, you and I watch sports a lot. They only stay away from the game for so long, right? Like, you saw Tom Brady following Jimmy G down the tunnel, and it's just like, Jimmy G's probably like, fuck, I can't escape this guy, man. But, you see that type of stuff where, like, the game always calls you back in. And Shinji's like, yeah, it's a young man's game. I'm out. I spent a lot of time nurturing the talent at Tango. He's done his part. He earned a retirement. This man went away for how many months? He's like, it's time to get back to work. And that's the thing. We spend so much of our life working, thinking that once we hit retirement, that we're done for a while. But we're back in like a couple of years because we're just designed that way. Mm-hmm. Creative people are designed that way, where you just keep going until the machine's broken. So, Cog, what do you make of Mikami potentially making a return here?
Man, it's the legend. I got so much respect for him. Obviously, we saw the announcement initially when he had said he was stepping down. I'm like, okay, he's been in the game a long time. Nothing for me, red flag. Tango is in good hands. His whole philosophy was get the younger generation, teach them they're going to take this company to the next level. So he had things in place. I got to be honest, though. Normally, I don't get into the speculation and too much rumor mill stuff, but this one feels a little different. And the only reason why I'm saying it is because he put the statement out, but then something else has transpired around the same time. Good ex-friend of his, Hideki Kamiya, is also available. And I am curious because those two have a relationship. And now that, Kamiya's comments versus, Platinum seem very dismissive, he's going to do his own thing. If you want games the Kamiya way, those two have worked together. Be on the lookout. Be on the lookout.
Yeah, that seems like the type of thing that pulls you out of retirement. Like, let's get the gang back together.
If your man called you and say, yo, they playing me over there at Platinum, bro, I'm going to do something over here with me. I want you, let's get how we used to do. Because I believe, what was it? Resident Evil, they worked on a lot of stuff.
They worked on a lot of good stuff together.
Oh, my God. Good stuff together. And, he may have a chip on it. Kamiya may have a chip on his shoulder. And Mikami, like you said, may have, I got the creative juices. I got more things to do, more stories to tell. Here comes, Shinji Kamiya studio. Like, something coming up, Mikami and Kamiya, you know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't be surprised. This is a long shot. I am basing this on nothing but speculation, conjecture. This is all cog. This is all cog. But I just feel the timing is interesting. Because if you were sitting on your couch, but your man called you and say, hey, I got an opportunity to check this out. And now you kind of re-energize. Let's see what happens. Or, what's up? Maybe they both do their own thing separately. But let's keep an eye on it.
Next up here is Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. It is getting even more support with Series X and S versions, which are arriving next year. So many people have been wondering if Xenoverse 3 is ever going to happen, and it's looking less and less likely. How
you feeling? How's DBZ?
I played Xenoverse 2 this year for a video on Retro Rebound because we covered like a lot of the Dragon Ball games there, and I was thinking like, all right, let me see what's changed. And this must be a cash cow for Bandai. It has to be with how long they supported it. But it's crazy to me that people still play this game because in 2017, I think it felt, all right enough. But when you play even DBZ Kakarot, when you play Dragon Ball Fighters, like there are way better feeling Dragon Ball games out there that could continue to use support. Some of DBZ Kakarot's support with the Bardock DLC and whatnot was awesome. Like really, really fun. Like you would destroy civilizations as Bardock before he, turned into a little bit of a good guy. That type of stuff is awesome. And so I look at Xenoverse 2. I'm like, this must be printing Bandai money. Like it just must be. The fact that it's still supported is crazy that it's done so much for them that they haven't even announced Xenoverse 3. And that seems to be something with Dragon Ball. Like the obvious move is not what's going to happen next. Like a lot of people went, this new anime for Dragon Ball got announced called Dragon Ball Daima, and it's like a kid-focused DB. I don't know what the fuck they're doing, man. I was talking to a friend about it, and because like everyone knows I love Dragon Ball, and I went, I don't know how you fuck up the Dragon Ball timeline when it is the easiest story to tell, but they're doing it. Everyone thought they were going to do more Super, but they're like, nope, Daima's here, and it's the same thing here. Like Xenoverse 3, right? It's gonna be 2024. Nope, next gen versions are here now. 4 years after the 3 years, probably actually 3.5 years after the next gen consoles had arrived. So the obvious choice is not always what's being done here with Bandai and Dragon Ball. Like I thought they'd run it back on another Dragon Ball Fighters game by this point, like do Super Dragon Ball Fighters. But they're doing new versions for that. So I don't know, the way that IP is supported, it gets a lot of games, it gets a lot of attention. It's getting, something's always happening with it, but it's never seeming like it's what people want. Like the last thing they did was a battle royale kind of or survival style game. I don't know. It's a little strange, but any thoughts on this, sir?
Not much. This is your territory, that kind of thing. But it's definitely, bro, it's a cash cow. So they definitely know what they're doing on that level. So I think that's the direction they're going. But yeah, it's interesting to hear. I like to hear how the DBZ, the fighting any community feels about it. Like, I like to hear, because I know
I don't know anyone who is actually still playing Xenoverse 2 consistently. I don't know. I am friends with diehard Dragon Ball fans. I look at the community. I see Dragon Ball YouTubers aren't even playing. I'm like, who is actually? I say this to someone who loves the support. I'm like, who's actually playing this? Who is it? But clearly, there's a fan
engagement. Clearly, there must be engagement because I don't see it, but they see it.
I don't even think it's in Game Pass where it's like, oh, there's a free way to microtransactions. This game has so many like purchasable add-ons. It's crazy, dude. So
maybe it's like PC or something. Maybe it's like a specific community key. Remember how we was talking about Fallout 76 and
once more.
Yeah, what's going on? Because it's got to be, if they bring it out the Series X and S versions and they're supporting, like clearly it seems that maybe there is engagement. What's the engagement looking like?
3,000 in the last 24 hours.
Oh,
really? Yeah, that's all right, I guess, for a game from 2017.
2017, yeah.
But it may be the Fallout 76 effect where it's like this very small fan base that's just getting milked to shit. That would be my prediction.
And there's microtransactions, any of that stuff in the game?
Yeah, plenty. Oh my God. They sell music packs. They sell new character packs, new mission packs constantly.
Or it just could be a contractual obligation that they have to put out this joint before they moved on. Because I still like that. I don't still seem like enough for you to be still pumping in, support for it. But maybe it's just one of those things they say, okay, we'll do this and then we'll move on to the next joint after this joint.
Microsoft will be appealing the IRS's request for $28.9 billion in back taxes, which I just thought was such an astronomical number here that this certainly would have an effect on the Xbox business. So I don't really have much to say on this because I'm not going to try to be a financial analyst, but wanted to put it out there as sort of a keep an eye on this one. Because it will, I know Microsoft has a lot of money, but this would have an impact on certain little investments that they would otherwise make. So any thoughts on this, Cog?
Not much. I actually heard a little bit about it, but don't have any like detail, but I will be paying much more attention now, based on it. But yeah, I don't really have much to add to this. You gotta pay them taxes, bro. Like what's going on? I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's legitimate. I don't know if it's,
man, come on.
Yeah. Stay out here for if they are, that's a bad look. But I don't want to speculate because I don't have any information on this, but I am definitely going to do some digging and see moving forward for sure.
Minecraft has sold 300 million units in its lifetime. It's been announced. Brian Wagers writes in, "Hey Dukes, was glad to see on social media about Cog's good news about his health and hoping for a healthier 2024 for both of y'all." Thank you, Brian. That's very nice of you.
Much love. Thank you.
Minecraft crossed 300 million copies sold this week, over 100 million more than the second best-selling game. Will there ever be a game that sells this well? Why do you think this specific game was able to be so popular? Have a great day, Brian W. Thank you, Brian, for writing in. So Minecraft's had a bit of a resurgence. It's always been popular, but like as of lately in the more core gaming space, like it's had a pretty strong resurgence where I remember during high school, like you couldn't escape Minecraft content. Like everyone was on YouTube was making Minecraft videos, talking about Minecraft. It was about the console ports. And I think it's because this is like a generational thing. It's a game that you can introduce to a very, very young kid and they can kind of pick up and interact with it. But for the high level stuff, like I fired up Minecraft sometime last year with my fiance and a couple of friends. And there was stuff I was like, this is actually kind of complex. I didn't know that. And so, yeah, there's layers to Minecraft. So if you want to go hardcore with it, you can. And I think that's the appeal to it, Brian, is that it's generational. I think everyone has a story with Minecraft. Like I remember my first time playing it when it was just like an app, like you had to get like a JavaScript app or something like that off the website versus how you play it now and how it's been updated. It used to be just this blocky game and now it's actually weirdly beautiful and so on. So I think with all those memories packed into it, you what's the first game you think of when someone has a kid? They're like, what's the game I want to put them on? Minecraft is usually that, a place to express creativity. So Cog, what are your thoughts on 300 million lifetime units for Minecraft?
Again, it just goes to show you that myself, older gamers, I'm wrong. The younger the Twitter generation about what's popping and the banger and bro, we're all wrong. Like this is it is staggering. And to see the success that it has, and you said it beautifully, it's generational because a lot of people, I forgot, I don't know if it was Craig that we had on with Minecraft Legends or someone that we interviewed. We talked about like, that's the game they play with their kid and their son and stuff like that. And I think it's just one of those things. It's before Fortnite, this was that thing. You know what I mean? This is what everyone was doing. And I think, I got to be honest, this was Mojang, I believe, was one of their Xbox's early acquisitions, and they locked it up. And everybody was like, hey, why are you doing that? And, they need to go out and get, studio such and such to make the game I like, kind of thing. But it goes to show you, these are the games. It's the games that sometimes that are not approved by the hardcore gamer that are actually the ones that are sustainable, that allows them to do other things. And yeah, shout out to them. Like this is tremendous. It is, to see this type of level of success is just mind blowing. So yeah, Minecraft is one of those inflection points in the industry for sure.
Now, unfortunately, on the opposite end of the spectrum is the Lamplighters League. Paradox Interactive and Harebrained Schemes, developer of Lamplighters League, will part ways on January 1st, 2024, leaving the developer to, quote, seek new publishing, partnership, and investment opportunities, end quote, while Paradox gets to retain the ownership of the Lamplighters League and any other games made by the studio. SFish616 writes in, hey Dukes, recently it was announced Harebrained Schemes is being let go by Paradox. I know everyone and their mother has, quote, this team should be bought by Xbox, end quote, ideas. This one is different. The founders came from FASA, of course, of MechAssault, Crimson Skies, and infamously Shadowrun. HBS's, by the way, Harebrained Schemes, for those who don't know the abbreviation, most successful games also came from Xbox-owned IP, BattleTech, and Shadowrun. Think it would be really cool game coming home story if Xbox would get them, like with PlayStation and Firesprite. Just wanted your thoughts, having all the first party released great games this year, but fanboys are still complaining kind of day. Thank you, Stephen, for writing in. So, Cog, I got to know, man, what you think of what's going on with the Lamplighters League. Last week we talked about it was so bad that they immediately said, like, yeah, this ain't doing well at all. Way below our expectations, even if it's seeing good play on Game Pass. We talked about how Game Pass incentivizes sales, but Lamplighters League, man, it's not lighting anything up. So much that they have broken off the partnership here completely. Mm-hmm. So what do you make of this? Because I feel like we don't see this super often where immediately it's like we're going our separate ways.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. This is sad. Again, I love that we highlight stuff like this because it's rare that you see it. And then also it kind of reminds me of, remember the game that me and you kind of bonded on, which was kind of like an XCOM style espionage, I believe it was called Phantom Doctrine.
Yes.
And they went through a weird situation, not exactly apples to apples with this, but they went through a situation that when I was speaking to the developer, they don't have the rights to the IP anymore. And now they're making that separate game, which is almost like a Smash TV, XCOM kind of game showy kind of game versus, and then apparently there is a Phantom Doctrine 2 coming, but it's not by the original team. So it goes to show you when these deals are made, someone can control your IP, right? And I just think creatively that hurts to me. Like that feels, you know what I mean? Like, maybe that was part of the deal in order for them to even deal with you. Like, yo, all right, you want to put this money up front, we're going to be the publisher. We're going to control this, right? And maybe these are the rights you sign away. Some people are willing to sign away at that point. But I think that's the part that's really sad because, again, obviously I played the game. I thought the game had a solid foundation, but it is not getting any traction. I don't think it's, doing well anywhere. Obviously, if it wasn't for game, I'll be honest, if it wasn't for game, I wouldn't even known this game. I'm going to be real. Okay. So Game Pass just helped on some level of visibility, but yeah, this is unfortunate. And now, they're going to look for new opportunities as far as, their track record and what they've done, there's something there. I think hopefully they land on their feet. Generally what I tend to see happens in these type of situations is like, individual talent sometimes get poached and then put, into other teams. But hopefully if they want to stay together and, come up with an opportunity, I'm pulling for them because I do think there was a lot of potential, some good ideas there, but it just didn't click. And this is the reality of the games industry. This is the volatility. If it doesn't hit, could be out of here. You know what I mean? And that's the point that I be trying to stress. We don't talk about these kind of things enough. And I'm pro developer. I'm very passionate. I'm corporate cog on understanding how the business works. But I am very empathetic to the creators. Those are the ones, these to me are the heroes. These are the legends. And when they are put out of work, I feel away. You know what I'm saying? That's just how I'm always going to be.
Yeah, completely agree. And the IP control is such a scary play. It's something I think about all the time with how much time I've sank into my own game and the world I've built alongside a team here. And I think about, when that time comes, it's like if they're hanging the cash over your head, but they're like, we want full IP control. I'm just like, I don't think I would do it, just because, you need to own your own. This is exactly why, because who knows what creative decisions were made because of Paradox that maybe led to more of like a game that they didn't want to do. I hope these developers don't sell themselves short and continue to advocate to own their stuff moving forward, because it would drive me up a wall if something I built and nurtured was then on a long list in some like corporation like Paradox that could just be done with whatever. They could do whatever they want with it. I mean, I don't know. Again, I'm speaking more as a creative on that, because I know some people are immediately going to think like, well, what about Xbox owning a million things from Activision? And to that, I say that they spent a ton of money to go and do that. But I'm looking at it from the creative standpoint of like a small team. You work to make something new and different, and it doesn't catch on. They just like get to hold on to it. You can't even like take it as a badge of honor. Like, we still made that. Like, that's still a good game. Like, it's not even yours. That stings.
Yeah. It's like, it reminds me of the record industry with not having your masters, right? And people holding your masters, things that you create. And that's the thing. But I do understand some people who are they're back against the wall. They say no publisher is calling you, right? And this is the only call you get. That's the moral decision you have to make. And I get it. It's just unfortunate, the way things play out like this. So pulling for them, man. Hope they get back on their feet.
With that, that's enough news. Cog, it's time to talk about what games we're playing. Very interesting first game from you here. So let's start off with that. How are you doing, sir? What are you playing here? What is this?
Yeah, shout out to the Tracy brothers, my turn-based brethren. They've been doing turn-based games for a long time. Saw this game, Addict, man, about 2-3 years ago. I believe it was a PAX East. Very passionate developer team. They're literally two brothers who are making who make turn-based games, and they had this game. It was kind of like a cyberpunk. It was like a turn-based XCOM with a cyberpunk vibe that kind of has a little bit of Shadowrun elements in it as well. A lot of espionage and high tech, kind of thing. And I thought the premise was pretty cool. So yeah, it's out right now. It's on Steam. It's like early access. So basically, from a turn-based bros, the strength of the game that I feel is that it is not only is it turn-based, it's tactical. You can do these like stealth and preemptive move to kind of guess what the patrols and the enemies and stuff is going to be. You can't abuse them, but you have that kind of things. You go on heists, you go on missions. You have the typical, extraction. You have the typical kind of XCOM-y type missions. And one thing that I really like, they got this jam ability. So like if there's cameras and stuff, for a couple of turns, you can knock those out, keep moving. Now, there's also this security layer at the top right that I believe is as each turn goes on, and the longer you go, the enemy can also evolve, and the enemy can start employing different tactics and things like that to try to find you and get you in there. Off the back, I thought the premise is good. I will say my only issue is narratively, I'm not connecting. It's like
that's some of the dialogue.
Yeah, and I'm like, not really there with you on the dialogue just yet. I was like, this game to me, I'm not here to hear like for some engrossed story that if you're here for that, you're going to be disappointed. I'm just going to put that out. And the other disconnect for me is that I love the art style of the game. They've made a distinct model choice for the characters that I feel in the faces almost is like not serious enough on certain things. So sometimes like the cat, I'm like, I'm not taking you serious right now when you telling me all this hardcore stuff, and you I can tell it's an artistic choice. Those are the nitpicks. But from a core gameplay standpoint, there's some hardcore turn-based here. This is hardcore turn, and I really enjoyed the gameplay. So shout out to them. I believe it was a Kickstarter game initially. Then they got down. They were in early access. It's in Steam. You can play it on your ROG. You can do all that stuff. I think the intent is to come to consoles at some point. But if you're a fan of the genre, if you're a fan of, I'll tell you what this: if you're a fan of Shadowrun and XCOM, you're gonna like this game. And like I said, you got tactical, you got 3 team-based, 3 terms, you get missions sent to you. Like the story was weird. It was like a cyberpunk story where you got your implants from some shady thing, but you don't have enough money, and if you don't pay it back, like the bounty hunters are gonna come get you for your. It's cheesy and funny and silly, but we're not here for the story. We're here for the gameplay, and that's it. So if you're a hardcore XCOM Shadowrun guy, check it out. Cyberpunk Flashback. I will say that. So good for it, and hopefully they keep it. Hey, they gotta get y'all animations when y'all, because y'all got such of the cool things. Overwatch, y'all got all these dope new wave features. I just want the bang bang shoot 'em up to feel more visceral. When that's what XCOM really, you feel like you laying somebody out. You know, when the cinema go back and they go fly, like that's what you want. They gotta just they're almost there. So I think but the foundation is there. You just gotta keep pushing a little bit. So shout out to them. And I got a confession, man. So I thought I was done with Starfield, and then something happened. It started off with, okay, Cog, you played the review copy, you got all these hours, and just morally it was bothering me that I didn't have the basic achievements that you get disabled when you get a review. Again, shout out to the good people. Bethesda, we're not mad that we didn't got it. We're just the achievements. And it was bothering me because I have a streak to uphold with every Bethesda game as far as like, Elder Scrolls and stuff like that. Not Fallout per se, because you're the Fallout guy, but Elder Scrolls, mainline, like, Cog's thing is I got to get that 1,000. These are my joints.
Oh
right?
man, that's a tall order. I Starfield achievement I saw. I was like, that's not happening.
Which one? You cringe?
I think was it. I don't know if maybe I'm misremembering. I don't know if it was every planet or I think it was every star system.
Oh yeah, that gonna be. I don't know. Yeah, that gonna be crazy. Yeah, that's gonna be. Yeah.
The way if they had it in a list,
yes,
that would be doable. But when I look at like sometimes because of the way you rotate the star,
the rotate is horrible.
I'm just like, man, I don't know because sometimes you'll see 2 names line up. I'm like,
yeah, you're like, did you not?
That's a third. So I just
that little red dot.
It's so hard to keep track of where you've been, and I don't know. It would take me a whole day to like just make sure I'm going through all these, and even then I get lost. So I'm just hoping that over the course of my 1,000+ hours I'm going to put in over the years and years of playing and covering this game, that I'll just one day pop that achievement, and that's when I'll go for it.
Yeah, no, totally. That's definitely this is an investment thing, right? Yes. So I think where it started for me was the new Game Plus experience. It just really, really has been captivating me, man. Like I really have played things in a completely different way than I did my first time, and I'm really having a ton of fun. So you got that, you got the achievement aspect, and then surprise, someone is addicted to shipbuilding. Someone, shout out to Addict for it, because Bethesda couldn't put this in the game more simple enough for me. I was like, nah, bro, this is what you got to do. You got to, because I'm like, yo, this is how it started. I had bought a ship from Ryujin, and when I got it, it had workbench, pharmaceutical. I'm like, this is my first playthrough. I'm like, how come ships ain't coming? I want my ships like this. I want to be able to have my, like a mobile, you know what I'm saying? Like I got my workbenches. I'm like, this is hot. So now in the second joint, obviously you lose, certain aspects, things that you have outside of your level on your new Game Plus. And I will say what really excited me was someone said, oh, no, you could do that. I'm like, what do you mean? How? So you got to go to the shipbuilder, and then you go to view modify ships. And I'm like, all right, I'm trying to upgrade. And it was like, no, not upgrade. I think it was, it's like upgrade is another option. And I believe it's the other option, shipbuilder. Yes, don't do upgrade, do shipbuilder. So when I hit shipbuilder, because I got this fly ship, it's called the Star Eagle. Oh, yes. And then I'm like, I don't understand though. I'm moving it and it's not, where's the option? And then Bethesda, bruh, can you label what things are with these pieces? Someone had to tell me you got to go to Habs, and then in Habs, then I'm like, well, where's the pharmaceutical one? Where's the workbench one? They were like, okay, so if it says armory, if it says this, I'm like, yo, y'all got to do it better. So once I had figured that
would be good.
Icons, with it, man, that would have been revolutionary to tell me that. So once I got that portion down, then it made sense. Now what you got to do is you got to press, for those who want to do this, press the icon, move your cursor off your ship into a blank area in the ship builder. You're going to see the button that says add. Go to add, then go to Habs, Habs. Those are the living quarters, right? Then you can see which one you want. You're like, okay, in armory, that's usually workbenches, suit benches, that kind of stuff. You see pharmacy, you see, I forgot what it's called, but it's like pharmacy, something like that. That's where you get the research development, all the stuff. Then you get that piece, you buy it, and you put it to the side like a little Lego block. Put it to the side. Then you go to your ship, and you press A on the part that you're looking at, you want to get rid of, that you hate, because this aesthetically parts of my ship I can't stand. So I press A, and then you see it slide out like a little piece. I'm like, oh, there you go. Then you put it to the side. It's like building, and then you're going to see at the bottom, it's going to have like a red little error message that say, hey, you're not finished. So then you press A over there, you slide that bad boy in, and you're going to see it turn green. If it stay green, you good. Then if once it slips back in and you're still not finished, then delete the piece that you remove. Once you do that, it's going to say ship modification. I was like, oh, so now that I have this breakthrough, bro, I'm on my Star Trek Enterprise. I got my mobile thing going. I got an armory, I got a workbench, I got I'm having a ball right now. So yeah, then which leads me, I'm in the rabbit hole, man. Outpost management. I'm in the rabbit hole, Maddie. I'm actually learning the complexities of it through people who had to help me. But yeah, I'm learning. We'll talk about all this other stuff. I know a lot in depth, but I just wanted to say that it's got its hooks back in me again. And I didn't expect this. And I'm like, damn it. Here goes. It's been like 4 days straight, and when I start, I can't stop. And there's other quest lines that we'll talk about in spoilercast and stuff like that are just really, really impressing me. So I did one quest though. Did you do the one with the ship? And as soon as you get on, you can't bring your companion, and everybody's dead on the ship.
No,
bro, I found a mission. Whoa. I found some straight alien isolation jerk.
Ooh.
Bro, this mission is fire.
Is that like a faction one?
Bro, I thought, nope, not even a faction. It was on the way to me doing something, right? And I said, wait a minute. Why is that ship standing there? You can't hail it. No one's communicating. It's just a big old ship. I'm like, it's called the Colander, Coland. If you see that ship, go on that ship. So then I thought the game was glitched. So I get on the thing, because I think I had, whenever I do my dirt, me and Adoran Fan, that's my man. We go rob banks. He love everything. He's the funniest, right? So I said, come on, Adoran Fan, let's do what we do. So I'm like, where's Adoran Fan? I'm like, so I thought the Starfield was glitching. I'm like, bro, how I'm on here and my companion is not here? You ain't slick, Bethesda. I know what you're doing. Bro, you start reading the records. You're like, yo, the life support system went out. You see a body. You see an altar. You're like, what has... Bro, tension. I ain't gonna spoil it. But yeah. Some stuff go there. And I was like, oh. Yeah. Get to the calendar, y'all. Get to the calendar, y'all. Great mission. Kudos. Again, and I'm finding things like this. My entire playthrough on New Game is completely different. And think about how much hours I put in the first. So it goes to show you how much content I still miss. So that's pretty much it. The Starfield, back in it again. Sorry.
For me, I've been playing more Lies of P. I'm nearing the end now, I think. This is my game of the year. It's so good.
Let's go. Woo!
Yeah, man. I'm so impressed. I have, you know why? Because I was looking, why I took number one is I was looking at every game that I've loved this year, and every game I got a little
Got no issues with everything.
Like even the ones I really love, like a light criticism. I don't know if I have a criticism of Liza P. I don't think everyone will feel that way, but I don't know if I really have any criticism for this. And I have to say that I think the more game devy side of me is part of the reason why, because to me, Liza P is it does not hide its inspirations. And I love that. It's something Gene and I talked about, that I wish more developers were just open about their inspiration. You fight a boss that's straight up like Bane. You got a guy named the One-Winged Angel. You fight a dude with a Buster Sword, but he's holding it upside down. Like, you could tell that this team loves Final Fantasy. They love Trails. They love Batman. Like, you could just feel that they were looking at stuff and were creatively inspired and found ways to naturally fit it into their worlds. I don't know, man. Like, that stuff lights me up now. Like, as a person who's always writing and creating, like, I see that stuff and it inspires me, right? So that's part of it, is like the more intangible factor. But like Liza P, there's actually a good story here, which I wasn't expecting going in. Like, it shows the power of world building, because when you step out into Krot Central Station, it is that moment of, okay, I love the presentation. And you could tell by the way the environment's lit, so much of the work is done by these dim flickering lights rather than just like an overhead light. Like, it's so impressive, right? And you're thinking like, this is enough for me, right? The puppet frenzy, the human petrification disease, like, okay, we got death and dismay across this world. That's enough to hook me as I learn more. But there's an actual story, Cog, with these characters, and you're trying to find out, why was P brought to life at all? Why does he not play by the same rules as these other puppets? And who is behind the puppet frenzy? Why was it done? What is this? You know how like you get souls in Dark Souls that you can level up with? What is Ergo? Like, why am I synchronizing with it so well? Who are these characters in Hotel Krot? The game actually seeks out to answer these more directly. And one of the biggest things I love about it is I'm doing all the side quests, Cog, because I love that Liza P doesn't hold your hand at all. Combat, exploration, but it's not afraid to give you a little like, it's here kind of energy. So let's say you got a side quest going where it's like, oh, you picked up a cryptic vessel. You need to talk to Vanini with that. So when you go back to Hotel Krot, you'll see like his face as an icon next to Hotel Krot, which tells you that to continue whatever this quest line is, go talk to Vanini in that area, and so on and so forth. So as you go to all these different areas in Liza P, if there's a side quest there that's active, it's not like they're going to give you a tracker, a map marker, but the game will tell you that it's there in that vicinity. And I love that, because I'm not missing anything, but I'm still going on. I'm like, oh, they're there. You still got to find them. It's still got that soul's energy, but it nudges you enough in the right direction, so you're not wasting time. Or I don't like to break out of the experience and look up a guide. I try my best to avoid that as much as possible, because there's a validation of figuring it out yourself too.
Of course.
So Liza P just, again, nudges you in the right direction. These weapons are awesome. I love how weapon driven this game is. Like, it's build driven. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm a technique build for those who are playing Liza P. I'm rocking this boss weapon. Like, they drop, just like in Dark Souls, you know, they drop a boss soul and you can convert it into an accessory or a weapon. I've been going all weapons, and I found this spear that's got a crit rate of 30%. So what I love about it is it's not the strongest, but because you can hit some crits, I'm staggering enemies that would otherwise hit me. Yeah. The biggest thing I struggle with in Liza P is the parry window. I'm better at parrying in Sekiro, and I don't know if it's a window timing thing, or I actually play Liza P through my capture software, which probably has a very, very mild delay, which is everything in a game about parrying. But that's because I'm here and I'm trying to record gameplay for a video I'm working on with it, so I have to play through here. But it's a fantastic game. I can't say enough good things about it, but I am glowing about this universe. I love what Liza P is doing. And so to see that it hit 1 million sales and for it to be recognized, I'm like, good. I'm glad people are seeing how good it is, and that they're going to do DLC based off a Korean jobs board, I think we saw. That's really exciting that it's that good that they're immediately greenlighting DLC a month after launch. Just tremendous work here. Tremendous work. It's so finely crafted. And I really don't have any complaints. I don't know. I just I'm really loving
That's
Lies of P.
high praise from you.
Yeah. I really don't have any complaints. Like I can't think of a negative thing to say. It's you know when I was loving it, it was really last night. This game trolled the fuck out of me. Like I had this moment where I'm looking down this ledge and I'm in the patented Souls swamp area, which they put a great twist on what a soul swamp can be. Like they actually made it cool because it's like this puppet graveyard. And so it's like oil slicks and whatnot. It's really cool.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's got personality and style to it. But I'm looking down over this edge and I see this item on this kind of rickety platform. And I'm like, all right, I can make that. And so I like roll down. When I land on it, everything except this one beam breaks and I just fall through. And I left. And that's when I knew I was having a great time. I'm like, wow, this game's great, man. You just fucked me up. That's great. I love this. And yeah, the game's not afraid to troll you. It's clearly, of course, its biggest inspiration is the Soulsborne games. Like you can tell, as I said in our last episode, that they literally had Souls, Bloodborne, everything up, and they were just doing this back and forth as they were working on the game. Like, what did they do here? How was the dodge roll feeling? How did Bloodborne's dash feel? And so on. Like the inspiration is clear. To some people, that's not going to resonate because they're going to view it as a copycat. But I just think, to me, they've created their own identity with the way they've handled weapons, the way they've handled. Bro, I got this thing called a puppet string, which is one of the first little Legion arm upgrades you get. Mm-hmm. But you can get Legion calibers, which get new abilities for it. And there's this final upgrade where you do, for my Attack on Titan fans, again, the inspiration is clear. You see the same wind up with like both blades behind you as you come flying down with the wire attached to them. Dude, the flexibility in this game, because it's rule set, it's so nimble that a huge enemy was charging at me and I went, fuck it, I'm going to attach to him and do this special move. I fly up in the air and I hold like this for a sec. He swings, he misses, and I come down, slash him and land behind him and stagger him. I was like, and that was just a natural gameplay moment because I was experimenting. Like, this game is so good. If you are a Souls fan, I'm sure you've already looked into it, but like, I even implore the newer Souls guys, this game will kick your ass. But if you were open to it, this is a work of art, man. It's so good. Favorite game of the year, easily. And I haven't even really finished it yet.
Wow. That's dope. That's dope. High praise.
Sonic Superstars, I've also been playing. I reviewed that over on Retro Rebound if anyone wants the more full thoughts on that. But great game. Great game, man. I am not big on 2D Sonic, Cog. I think that's where you and I differ. I know you have a lot of nostalgia with 2D Sonic. I respected it, right? Like I never was like, oh, get out of here. Like you understood what it did, but in my ignorant Sonic days, it was more like, yeah, product of the time. Okay, like we moved past this. But as they keep doing like Sonic Mania and then Sonic Superstars, I'm like, there's an audience for this that loves this style more than like I love the 3D Sonic games. So I respect it. But anytime I tried to play it, the thing I always fought with, Cog, is I'm going fast and I hit a bounce pad and it sends me back. Or I'm going fast and I hit like a spiky enemy and I lose all my ranks. I'm like, bro, I didn't even see that dude. Like, how could I have ever reacted? And I always broke it down to memorization and muscle memory versus reaction times and shortcuts through levels, which is what I love about Sonic, right? Sonic Superstars, man, really threads the needle beautifully. It really does. Where I think vets are going to love what's here. It's got all of the things that you would expect from a 2D Sonic game. But for newcomers like me, they got the momentum and the physics and the timing of things, I think at least, perfectly. Now, I'm not going to come in here and talk like I'm a 2D Sonic expert because I know your mileage may vary on these things. But for me, when I saw, like, there's this level, it's a pinball carnival level. It's awesome, Cog. And they put you on like a roller coaster. And when I saw, I was reacting to like, oh, I saw above me is a little portal and I jumped and hit it. And I got in and I found a shortcut that got me out of that entire roller coaster zone and shaved some time off the level. That's when I was like, you know what, man? Like, that's something I was never able to do in 2D Sonic, but I still feel like I'm going fast. I still feel like I'm a character in this world. And they added these powers. So there's one called Bullet, which can give you could spam it. You could quadruple jump, quintuple jump if you want, which gives a lot of flexibility to the 4 characters you can play as. So like Sonic's good with the roll dash, but Amy has a double jump. So now Amy can do 1, 2, and then bullet like 4 times. So you can kind of make your own shortcuts. There's a vision one, which shows off hidden platforms. Just cool stuff like this, man. And I'm really enjoying it. I'm not a 2D Sonic guy. I'm not crazy about the soundtrack for this one, but yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's a fun game. No story here. No Maddie trying to, tell people that Sonic Frontiers has a great story. None of that here. But Sonic Superstars is a game with a fun spirit, and I'm curious to see how I feel about Super Mario Bros. Wonder when I pick that up versus this one, because now these are like the OG 2D Titans going head to head in the same week. So very keen to see how that plays out. But that's been great. And then the last one, Cog, I'll keep this one quick because y'all should never touch this fucking game. Skull Island: Rise of Kong. So
what's this? What's happening?
So out here? I saw this one, and someone posted a cutscene on Twitter, right? And it looked miserable, like awkward facial animations because you're playing as Kong. Very, very blatantly low budget. And I saw Game Mill Entertainment on the cover as the publisher. The developer is called Iguanabee. But I saw Game Mill on the publisher, and I'm like, these are the dudes who just put out that Avatar game, which I just ripped to shreds on Retro Rebound for over 250,000 views. Like, y'all didn't learn your lesson? I talked about Undefined Duke. Like, we're not learning our lesson here. We did this again. So I was like, all right, I'll be a man of the people. I'm going to buy this. I'm going to fire it up. I got to see how bad it is. Frame 1, right? You hear the audio. Cog, you played a Game Boy Advance, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have heard less compressed audio out of that system than what this game has. I know people are going to hear this and go, you're exaggerating. Watch my review on my Mr. Matty channel. Please hear this game before you see anything. Hear the audio. It is the most compressed shit I have heard in my lifetime, man. I have played PS2. I do Retro Rebound. I have played PS2 games that sound better than this. I couldn't believe the quality of this game. It is worse than Gollum. It is. It really is worse than Gollum. I don't know how they did it, but they did. And the reality is, man, this is a pre-alpha kind of game. Like, I broke it down in my video. Like, a pre-alpha is like, you got the mechanics. They're not fun, but you got them. So you can do things in the game, and you've got your A to Z. Like, you can play, in quotes, the game from start to finish. And once you hit pre-alpha, it's like, all right, let's start fine-tuning. Let's start polishing artistically, mechanically. Let's get our act together here, right? Like, let's push for the finish now, right? Which is, I know this because this is where my game is at. We're just about to hit pre-alpha. We're looking for that start to finish, and then we're going to really pretty up the rest of it. Like, we have a kind of proof of concept area, and then we're going to pretty up the rest of it based off that. Skull Island: Rise of Kong is beneath that. Like, there is no proof of concept because here is the asset list: rock, palm tree, sand, tuft of grass. It is environmentally, I should say, asset list.
Right.
It is insane how slapped together this shit is. And I don't blame the developers because Game Mill's done this twice now, and it's not the first time that they have put out an absolute shitstorm like this, where the reality is they are taking licensed games. They're like LJN from back then, right? Like, shout out to my AVGN fans. I didn't get to experience it, but like, I know about LJN. They are like THQ in the early days, where like you'd find them on every licensed product.
IP game,
and like, you'd sometimes get a Battle for Bikini Bottom, and then other times you get this weird looking Fairly Odd Parents breaking the rules. You're like, what? Like, these are the same. What happened here? And it's all about budget. And this company is gobbling up licenses like Avatar, Nickelodeon games, Kong games now, and they're putting out bullshit. And I'm trying to take them to task across my platforms, and I'm like, you can't keep doing this. Like, you can see they're capable of publishing good games, because I think Nick All-Star Brawl 1 was great. Nick All-Star Brawl 2 looks awesome. I look at something like the Nick All-Star Racing games. These games look and play great. Like, I think that all the Nick Kart Racing games are probably the closest competitor we've had to Mario Kart. And same thing with the Smash clone.
That's high praise. That's
high praise, right? Like, they're capable of that, but they got to stop this, man, because this game, when I bought it, dude, day one on sale, 20% off already. I was like, dude, they're trying to get people like, yo, I haven't seen this Kong game. Oh, 20% off is a great deal. Let me get it today. Not knowing this shit's been out for like 24 hours, maybe. Awful video game. And I really don't even blame the developers. I really blame Game Mill for this because this should have been canceled. Absolutely. Like it is. I mean, we've had some really bad shit this year. We talked a lot about Redfall on this show. This game makes Redfall look so good.
Wow.
So good. You know how I feel about Redfall.
We know how we feel about Redfall. How you feel? Yeah.
Redfall looks magnificent in comparison.
Oh man.
Like, I would if some dude put a gun to my head and said like you like the next game you play after this can be Redfall. I was, yep, bro. No problem.
Redfall
no
day,
problem.
Let's go.
Fight
up. Fight back.
He's like, play the next bad game. That's right. Play Redfall, Maddie. I'm like, yep, you got it, bro. You got it. Like, absolutely.
That Rise of Kong, you're good. You're good on that Skull Island.
So yeah, don't play Skull Island, Rise of Kong. Do your research. Maybe check out my review on Mr. Maddie channel.
I'm watching the gameplay while you've been talking. I'm like,
it's pretty.
He's slapping up little dodo birds. I'm like,
yeah, that's the funny thing. The combat's just him.
Yeah, I'm like, it's definitely a lot of PS1, PS2 kind of energy going on. And I'm like,
and I compared the Peter Jackson game that came out in 2005 to this one. Bro, that was a pretty good game. I went side by side with that. It's unbelievable how much that game, not even nostalgia, because I didn't play it.
Yeah, I remember that game.
That game clears Rise of Kong completely on a technical level, even.
On a technical level?
Yeah, it clears it on a technical level. That's insane. They have achieved the impossible. They released it. How are we doing this is what's beyond me. Clearly it was just an unfinished game.
Yeah.
And Game Mill is clearly hoping like, man, some Kong fan's gonna come across this and be like, yo,
is there a movie coming or something?
That's what I was saying in my video. I was like, what was the rush for this? Did we have to get Rise of Kong out? Like, you're coming out in a week with Sonic, Mario, Spider-Man, and you're like, yo, this is our window. Like, dude, we strike today, y'all. Soldiers. What? Like, this is
we got to against the ropes. This is it. Damn, yeah, this is not the wave, but I'm looking at right now.
So do not pick this one up, but that is what I'm playing.
Appreciate your service, sir. Appreciate your service.
My pleasure. Okay, so we're going to skip the warm-up questions here and get straight into the news because we're 2 hours in. You've waited long enough. Let's do this. Number one, the deal for Activision Blizzard is now officially complete, and Xbox owns Activision Blizzard King. Phil spoke on the ABK deal during the official Xbox podcast and had plenty to share about the early ramifications of this deal. For starters, he said he's visiting all of the ABK teams to learn about them further, which will help guide where all these teams will go. In regards to other ABK teams working on different IP, he wants to make sure if they go back that they do so with their complete ability, featuring a motivated team rather than something for pure financial gain or a PRB. Speaking openly, Phil says that Xbox has done just an, quote, okay job, end quote, revisiting franchises where they could be better. Interestingly, he does note that with Game Pass, there's an opportunity to pick a couple of franchises each year and do a, quote, revisited, end quote, which is a term that Phil made up on the spot and is not an official brand. He made sure to clarify that. To recognize important moments in gaming history. Right now, there isn't a plan for that, but if a team wants to go back, then Phil said he's all in on that across the entire portfolio, citing Quake 2 Remastered as a good example of what he's hoping for. Separately, he confirms that no Activision Blizzard games are dropping into Xbox Game Pass until 2024, as the process will take a bit of a longer time, and he does admit that's a bit of a bummer. Call of Duty was a massive focal point in the heated conversations leading into the acquisition, and Phil spoke at length about his plans for the franchise. He states he wants both PlayStation and Nintendo fans to feel 100% a part of the community and will not be walling off skins, beta timing, and so on as a means of using Call of Duty to get people to buy an Xbox. While Call of Duty was a gigantic part of the deal, the less appealing component to many hardcore gamers is King, creators of Candy Crush. Phil went a bit into the mobile side of things, stating that Not everything will go mobile because of King, but he does want to learn more from them about how they handle this side of the business. Lastly, a company-wide email confirms that Activision's Bobby Kotick is on board until the end of 2023 to help with the ease of transition. So, Cog, where do we begin?
Yeah, so much, right? So much to unpack. I mean,
It's finally over.
we're finally here, right? We finally made it. What a journey this has been. Almost 2 years, bro. 2 years of this. I think my initial thoughts is that, I wanted to see. First of all, shout out to good friends Jeff and Malik on the interview with Phil, and I forgot the young lady's name. Oh man, I'm butchering her name, but just to see him up there, he seemed pretty comfortable. He was talking about where their plans are, and I think that the key difference here is this: with the Bethesda acquisition, we kind of got this is gonna drop. We're gonna get the vibe I got is because of the regulatory pressure, because of the legal, lengthy nature of it, this is just starting now. Yeah. Like the vibe I got is like, and they were very keen to be like, we really couldn't do anything. And I think us as Xbox, gamers, we were like, okay, we're going to see this next week or this week is going to be, all right, we're going to get 2 or 3 or 4 Game Pass drops. We're going to get a back-to-back drop. Nah. Like the integration starts now. The real work begins. So I think that that was telling to me. And I had Tom Warren on from The Verge, who's been very abreast. I had him on ILP recently past Sunday, who's been very abreast what's going on. He said, yeah, look for a lot of this stuff to be next year. They're getting the ball rolling. What I thought was interesting, he's going to King first. Those studios flying out there, right? Because to me, we all said Call of Duty is Call of Duty. But that's where the money, you know what I'm saying? So they got to go out there. Because they never talked to that team. I thought
he literally said, I don't know much about them at all. And I'm like, that kind of stings to hear. I'm like $68 billion. And you're like, I don't really know much about what we just got.
Don't know
figure it out though.
Yeah, don't know that team. Got to fly out there and we got to see what's going on because that's a huge part of their long-term vision. So salute on that. And then what was the other thing I thought it was interesting? I did like the idea of the revisiting, certain franchise. We'll see if they actually put that in place. But I thought that was huge to say, you know what I mean? Because I want to see that kind of stuff. I think that's important. And it was maybe one other thing, but I think the initial thing for me was that we are here now, right? And now the real work begins. And he himself has said, they just give themselves an okay job as far as, doing, what is it? I think it was the okay. Was it in reference to? It was in reference to revisiting. Revisiting. Yeah. So, that's where I'm at. I mean, let's see how this goes. I think this is I will say this. This is directly career defining tied to him. Remember when the documents came out? And it was during the talk of the Nintendo, during the talk of all that stuff, right? And eventually Bethesda ended up being the acquisition. He used the word career moment, right? This is his career moment here because, again, I can't predict the future, but let's say theoretically this failed. Oh, heads is going to roll. You know what I'm saying? Like this is the future of the business for them. And they have cranked the numbers, whatever way they have cranked it, whether it be, shout out to the cops, they cranking right now too. You know what I'm saying? But like whatever they have done, they have come up with a model that if they acquire ABK, this is how we get our revenue. This is how Game Pass grows. This is how it's on them now to execute. And then the key is going to be, like I said, you have the studios now, the pacing, the marketing, all the hard work now is on you for you to not fumble the bag on this. Because you got it now, right? So this is it. There is pressure here. I just want to let everybody know, even though it's celebratory and I get it, there is pressure now to execute more than ever because a lot of, including Phil, a lot of that team are tied to making this happen. They've got to execute. But again, salute to them. We just got to see. I can't predict the future, but I know for once, Game Pass needs content. If you're going to have a subscription service that's going to have you need it. And I'm curious to see also the mobile integration, how they do that.
Yeah, there's so many different ways we could start from, but I think
Mhm.
one thing that Phil really leaned into was how overwhelming the amount of IP that they now own. Like it's actually theirs. And as an Xbox fan and a person who has hopes for a lot of these old ones to be revived, it's super exciting. And especially Phil being very team driven, I think a lot of us have the optimistic thought of like, yeah, certainly they want to get out of the Call of Duty workshop, the sweatshop, and go do something else. But I wonder if there is a reality where like some are actually not going to want to do that at all, or it's probably not in their best interest to do that at all. But looking at it from a top down view, Xbox now owns a seismic amount of content, and the way I would scale it up is this to start things off: no more excuses. You just like there's no more of that. The generation begins in year X. Like this was the year I think they really kicked things off. Hi-Fi Rush, Developer Direct, Minecraft Legends. I know Redfall didn't hit, but at least like they had a portfolio, if you will, with other games like Starfield really hitting, Forza, and so on and so forth. Like they had games, right? Game Pass Day One was really, I think, clicking on all cylinders this year. I really haven't seen a month where I'm like, I feel like they've always been delivering with that this year. So this felt like the beginning of it, and they were late, but now and forever, this can never be the case. People are done making excuses for you, and you have a stupid amount of content and maybe not even enough teams to manage it all. So you got to make sure that the output matches what you own. You have to be delivering. It has to be multiple exclusives a year. Like, I don't think anyone's greedy or out of pocket for asking for that. Like, not just, like 1 year, 2 year, maybe like 3, 4 a year. You own a lot of stuff. This goes beyond the first party. You have third party deals in place. Like, you have so much going on that if it's managed properly, this should be a absolute content machine for them. Provided again that these teams want to dive into this portfolio, which Phil, the head of the entire division, is saying, like, I am all for that if they want to do that. I respect the leadership that he seems to be approaching it with, which is, I want to know what they want to do. And so it seems like a lot of these conversations are literally going to be circled around, do you like what you're doing now? Yes, no. No. What do you want to do?
Mhm.
And that can lead to some great stuff. It's going to take years. You thought you were waiting a long time to see what was cooking with the 2018 draft squad. Well, just wait now for ABK to turn things around. We saw Beanox kind of rebranded.
Yes.
Interesting timing on that.
Yes.
I think Xbox can look like early heroes in some ways if that Infinity Ward RPG is real.
Ooh.
And it ends up being great. I think there's a lot of stuff that they can kind of get their mitts on, and I'm not encouraging this. Like, I'm just saying, I'm looking at it from a business perspective that they can sort of shift the perspective of like Xbox and the early impact that they're having on Activision by getting some teams out to do some new things. But otherwise, yeah, that's where my head goes, is the IP. And I do think Xbox needs to find a way to mine it for all it's worth. And they're going to do that for better or for worse. And the worst is like the starting 2024, we're going to add things to Game Pass, and they're going to drip feed that shit. They're not going to drop tons and tons of games at once like they did with Bethesda. I think that was
Agreed.
a mistake from a business side of things. You're a subscription service driven company. You need content, and this is content for years if they play their hands right. The problem is that means you are going to be waiting for the thing that you really want to come into the service for a while, potentially. Like, oh, I didn't want Black Ops 1. I wanted 2. It's like, I'll see you in a month. Now you got to wait or pony up, right? So I think they're going to milk that for all it's worth. And I think the revisited thing is a brilliant idea. I would love to see more of the Quake 2 style remaster. I think what they did was great. They maintained the spirit of the game. They added expansions to it. Like, that was cool, man. I would love to see more of that, mining up the cut content, adding it to the game. I think Master Chief Collection was doing that, where they were pulling out like Halo, old ancient Halo maps from Gearbox and redoing them and putting them in the game. Like, that's cool. Like, that's what we want to see more of. So yeah, not to sound repetitive here, but yeah, I'm very excited about the IP library. I think if you're Xbox, the biggest hurdle you have to overcome here is the licensing, because a lot of the, at least in my eyes, a lot of the gold in these old IP is like the Marvel deal that Activision had for 14 years plus. It's the Transformers games.
Whew.
You know, there are games in there, the X-Men game, the Ultimate Alliance games, the Spider-Man games, for better or for worse. You know, you get games like Amazing Spider-Man 2, which wasn't good at all, but you get your Shattered Dimensions, you know, having Ultimate Alliance 1 Gold Edition. I mean,
please.
There's an opportunity to do, and I know this is pie in the sky, but like a Raimi trilogy Spider-Man collection. Like, you may not have Spider-Man like Insomniac has, but you've got options here on how to repackage and put things back where you have some superhero representation. I don't know. Little bit of a big dreamer thought, but I think you would be foolish if you're looking. Okay, so let's start with this. We're taking his words at face value with Call of Duty. We don't want to do anything with Call of Duty to incentivize you to buy an Xbox is what I got out of that, right? Outside of Game Pass.
I got pushback. I'm going to let you finish.
Okay, but look at what he said here. They're not doing beta timing, skins.
Oh, yeah. Correct.
So there's not, like, he's like, you're getting the same experience, which I respect. Like, I'm not advocating otherwise, right? I think it's great. But I'm like, okay, you spend all this money. You got to be doing something a little aggressive, right? To kind of justify the purchase, right? Like one of your aggressive moves was like Redfall, Starfield, Indiana Jones, right? They start like pulling them all in, stripping the labels off of PlayStation and Nintendo, slapping a big Xbox sticker. I'd be like, that was always ours. No one knows any better, right? And you get those conflicting stories about Redfall where like Harvey, I think, was saying one thing and then Xbox was saying another. So I look at that, I'm like, okay, that's the early gain. What's the other gains you get? It's like, it's this library, right? You got to utilize that. If you're not going to fully utilize Call of Duty, which I'm in agreement with, but like, I'm just thinking from the business point of view, but you wanted to push back. So what do you think they do to kind of, to make the moves to strengthen what they already have?
No, I don't want to push back on what you're saying. I'm in 100% agreeing with what you're saying. I want to push back on Phil a little because my thing is, there was only one statement that rubbed me a little wrong, where it was kind of like, we didn't do this to sell Xboxes. So I'm like, okay, well, technically you're doing this to, one, get more Game Pass subscriptions to embolden your catalog. You did this for mobile. You did this for PC and Activision Blizzard. In my opinion, there is no way that this does not incentivize console sales, because if you choose to market it, right, with a Series S, a Series X, that you are the home of Call of Duty, right? Part of them getting Game Pass, and you have a system in the Series S that is literally a Game Pass machine. There is no physical, when you get in there, unless you are very stubborn and say, hey, I'm not getting Game Pass. I got a Series S. I don't want Game Pass. That's a very distinct user base. Usually the entry point is right into that. So that part I got pushed back a little bit. That part I'm like, you go sell consoles. You try to sell consoles too. You know what I'm saying? So that kind I thought it was just interesting that he felt the need to say that. I didn't understand that part. So that was that. And then
probably like FTC kind of talking points there, like making sure we're not acting out yet.
Right, because it almost feels like the smoke's not clear. I don't want to say anything out of pocket. Or you know how like the villain goes, we got you now. It's ours. All right, rip the labels off, everybody. No DLC for these. I get it. I know the eyes are on you, right? So maybe it's just what you said, Maddie, that he can't do the twirly mustache.
Yeah, not quite yet.
Not yet, but I know if you spend $70 million, part of this is to incentivize console sales. Part of it, not all of it. Part of it. That was always. I was just being funny because I thought that was interesting that he said that. But continue.
No, absolutely. I want to get to Don Otaku's right and to kind of kickstart a deeper dive here. He writes, "What up, Krabby Matty Deluxe and 100% beef hot cog?" That's wow. That's one way to start it off, Don.
There we go. Don's outside.
Now that the ABK deal is officially done, who will be the dark horse of Activision? For Xbox Game Studios, it was Double Fine. Everyone downplayed them after the acquisition, but with Psychonauts 2, they went above and beyond everyone's expectations, and it was even a big Game of the Year contender in 2021. For Bethesda, it's definitely Tango Gameworks. They surprised everyone with the incredibly polished and fun Hi-Fi Rush that broke away from the studio's horror roots and felt like a return to form of Shinji Mikami's Clover days. Which team at Activision do you believe will have that breakout moment that puts them on everyone's radar? Have an advance the line kind of day. This is the big one people are asking, right? We got our general thoughts here to start it off. All right, the IP is there. Yes. This is a big moment for Xbox. And when you buy all of these studios, right now, Xbox is directly inheriting their current talent. Now, the hope is that, as we'll talk about in our next news item, that no one's flying out on a big parachute that Phil may need a little sooner rather than later. Who do you look at in that Activision portfolio and say, this is someone who actually may step up and be a bigger name than they currently are? If you need time to think, I can go first if you'd like.
You go first. You go. I have one in my mind, but I just want to make sure I don't miss somebody. But you go first.
Okay. The first one that comes to mind to me, and this one may not be considered necessarily a dark horse, an underrated team that everyone's overlooking, but because Call of Duty goes so far across so many developers, I look at two teams. The first one is Raven.
That was
Raven
too. Yeah.
is a team that if I am Phil, I know he said if the team's whatever they're interested. No, Phil, bad Phil. You take them off of Call of Duty and you let them give them the Xbox catalog, hand it to them and say whatever you like, whatever you like. Let Raven make anything they want. I think they have not only earned it, but this team has been suppressed for way too long and they can break loose. Last thing they did of note was the Black Ops Cold War campaign. Your opinion may vary. For me, I thought that was gas. But before any of that, there was Singularity. Before any of that, they were doing X-Men Legends. They were doing Ultimate Alliance. This team has only made bangers in my eyes, and no one talks about them. No one talks about them, right? They're now part of the Call of Duty sweatshop. So to me, that absolutely is the team that is set up to show up at an Xbox conference one year with this new IP, and everyone's going to go, what is that? And because they got the swagger of the Xbox exclusivity branding around them and Game Pass, they will break out. Company 2,
you got
Beanox.
Ooh,
you got the Marvel history there, man. Look, this has been, I don't know what a sports player I can think of right now. This is your hot and cold guy, though. You get a Shattered Dimensions, you get an Edge of Time. You get an Amazing Spider-Man 1, get Amazing Spider-Man 2. Mm-hmm. But there is Marvel roots here. And I think with a revitalized, refreshed Beanox, who's been in the Call of Duty sweatshop, to come out, break free, and recapture their identity as a team, by the way, because I think even though Amazing Spider-Man 2 is probably the worst Spider-Man game made, they have made some of the best Spider-Man games before Insomniac stepped in. So with the Marvel roots being there, you've got a team that I think if Phil can make a call, work a little three-way call now with Disney and Beanox and get something going, not Spider-Man. I don't think that would happen, but something Marvel related, something comic book related. This team has a lot of those roots. And I ask people, I implore you, if you need a sales pitch on Beanox as a team, I know it was 13 years ago, but Shattered Dimensions. Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions is an absolute celebration of Spider-Man's comic book history. The art style, the 4 playable Spider-Man from Noir to 2099 to Ultimate to regular Spider-Man, the different combat styles. It's just such an inspired game. There's love for comic books there. So I feel like Xbox hasn't really had a team that's ready to do a comic book style game that we know of right now. This may be the team. This may be. I don't know what the current talent is like there versus what it was, but I think that this is a team that I look at and I go, they could be set up to be a much more popular name in years to come.
I love your two choices. Yeah, Raven was on my list. Beanox definitely is on there. And my last is just a selfish list. I as a person who is a fan of Destiny and as a person who's a fan of the Transformers games, what High Moon Studio does when they were allowed to operate on their own is just tremendous. That not only from a support standpoint, but when they've already proven when they had original ideas what they can do. I have the utmost respect for High Moon. So I get it. They're in the sweatshop. They're still, producing a lot for Call of Duty, but there is talent there. And I would love for them to get a shot. I mean, people remember in the Destiny days, some of the best content. I forgot the name of the season. I think it was Season of Opulence. They did, because that was when Bungie was still with Activision. They had High Moon Studios and they had Vicarious Visions doing some of the expansions in between time. And the cops agree with yes, it was exciting.
They were popping off this
it was lit. And yeah, everybody was happy. But yeah, it was one of those things that people to this day still said that was some of the best seasonal content. There was people who played Destiny remember the Menagerie. It was this activity that was so amazing, tied to the raid, all done by High Moon. And yeah, like, and again, you know how I feel about the Fall of Transformers, Cybertron, the War of Cybertron. These guys are legends. David Teague, we got to get him out of retirement. That's going to be my bucket list. I'm going to find that man. I'm going to find what's going on. I'm going to spring him from jail. Wherever he's at, I'm going to spring him. Free that man. And if y'all know his whereabouts, I'm going to put up posters. Please have him contact Lord Cognito. We need to know where he's at. Dukes of Realm of the Dukes, I need your help on this one. We got to find this man and make sure that he's alive and well, and we cherish him, because we would love a revisit, or at least the old stuff. But yeah, that's what I got.
You know, it's a crazy one. I don't think this would ever happen. But Vicarious Visions, who was behind Tony Hawk's Pro Skater remake, they merged with Blizzard. I don't know if there's a way to free them, but man, would that be great?
Yep,
that would be really, because like you have a team that made really successful Tony Hawk remakes, right? And pardon me, now they're in the Blizzard sweatshop doing whatever. And when you look at the state of some of the Blizzard games, which I think need more retooling, you know, like an Overwatch 2, I feel like this would, if you're looking at how do we use the assets we just got, like this is a perfect way to use it. Like, okay, pull them out. Tony Hawk himself has already said he wanted to do a Pro Skater 3 and 4 remake. That was like a thing that they were talking about.
Nice.
And then it just went dead. So I just feel like that's another one that if you can figure that out, that's a more complex ask, because we're talking about a company that's merged. They're all now just Blizzard employees. There's a way you can make that split again and let them go work on their own. That would be seismic, in my opinion.
Yeah, and one last franchise, I believe it was Raven. We need Tenchu back, baby. We need Tenchu. Somebody got to figure this thing out. That is the OG stealth ninja game, pure stealth. So if we can figure it out, let's start with the back catalog, but let's figure out revitalizing that. I love that franchise so much.
Otherwise, any other teams come to mind for you? You think Infinity Ward and Treyarch are probably going to stand pat?
Yeah, they're too. Was it Sledgehammer as well, right? They like those.
Yeah. You mentioned High Moon already, right?
Yeah, we mentioned High Moon. Yeah. We mentioned Beanox. You know,
where's my Club Reel graphic here? Hold on.
I'm looking at it. It's funny. I'm looking at the same thing. It's funny you said that. I'm looking at the Club Reel. Shout out to Club Reel
and see what my man's got here, because. I'm sure when we take a look at this, he posts a lot. Hold on, that's my mistake.
He's cooking.
Here we are. Holy smokes. Yeah, that's a lot.
Look at this so much.
Toys for Bob. Toys for Bob, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro.
Yes.
That's huge. Yeah,
you got to do a Crash, right? I could totally see the trickle down effect of, in conjunction with marketing, with like, here come the Crashes, you know, at a certain time. They all this is going to be in conjunction with marketing and stretching this joint out. But I could totally see that. Yeah, you gotta do something with Spyro too.
Looking at all these studios, do you have any worry in your soul?
Yeah, the worry is, like everyone else says, management. Right? Like,
the estimated staff counts. Just I think of Embracer as like a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
Disney, of course, a cautionary tale in content management.
Of course.
You look at those, and then that is the one thing I'm like, okay,
yeah,
be very careful here.
The key is going to be this. This is why I'm not as worried yet, is because one thing that I like that they're doing with publishers is allowing them, for the most part, to remain independent, like how Bethesda was. Now, I will say there's going to be some redundancies in positions, and there will be people like, I'm just going to be very clear. That always happens at the beginning of any type of acquisition. because there are going to be redundancies. Some people are going to like, that's the reality of business. Not cheering it on. I'm just telling people what's going to happen. Now, after that clears, it's just going to be like you said. There's no excuses on content. There's no excuses on like you have. This is the bro. We got the you got a strong all-star lineup now. You got a roster. You got depth. And what I like is you have a team. I'm going to use sports analogies here. You have a team that has a lot of skill sets and things you're weak on. You got the kid games. You got the mobile games. You got strategy. You've got your FPS. You've got a ton of things now, so you can play this out. And what I like about what Phil Comment said about letting the teams create, we have learned that if they want to do something, you're going to get their best work. So if someone wants to revisit and revitalize something, you'll get, and to empower that. The key for Xbox is going to be like how the Redfall situation happened, right? Which is when you got a team you just acquired, and maybe there was a project that was floundering or something that was going on, you've got to get in there. I don't envy Matt Booty. I don't envy a lot of these, because that's going to be the key. You salute to Phil. You're flying out to King. You're flying out to Blizzard. I get it. This is
bring that notepad and look at every build in the team. Let us not have another Redfall.
Exactly. There we go. This is where this is where the real work begins. This is hard work now. Yeah. You've got it. You secured it. You did the impossible. You did. Kudos. You went through it. It happened. Now you're going to be judged. Like I said, this is career defining. And if you pull this off and we have that cadence, it will be going. If it doesn't, and we hear in Redfall situations, everybody feel free, to give them the smoke, as they should, about mismanagement or anything else if we have more of those situations. So I look at it as like, man, this is dope for the brand. This is cool. But man, they got a lot of work now. Now it begins.
I want to give you your flowers real quick before we move on a little bit here to another component of Activision Blizzard King. You stood on your square on this one, Cog. You were even in the darkest of times. The FTC blocking, the 2 out of 3 big regulatory bodies were standing on the throat of Microsoft, and you went, "This is still going through." I mean, maybe not as calm, cool, collected, but you went, "I'm still rocking with the deal will go through." So, congrats to you, because I know I wavered a bit. There was a moment I was like, I don't know, man. I was like, I hope it goes through, but I was like, I don't know.
No, thank you for that. I try to look at things, and this is why I want to speak to the rub of the Duke, because I love y'all. Everybody that we, even when we agree or disagree. I'm a person that try my best, and look, we all have inherent biases. Let's just be clear. We're all fans of stuff. There's things we like. There's things we want to happen. I think for me with this situation is it always came down to, is this illegal? Is this a monopoly? Is this competition? And when I looked at it objectively, I'm like, okay, there's third place when it comes to revenue. When I looked at what the definition of a monopoly is, this is not a monopoly, and I look at position of Sony and their arguments and what they were saying, it was just fraudulent stuff to me. So the only thing that I always told you was just like, hey, how political will this get? And I think the politics were very strong, and it did. Listen, with mergers of this nature, there's going to be scrutiny, and that comes with the territory. That's supposed to happen. But when I saw what was happening, I felt where it got slowed up was there was a war against big tech that I wasn't aware of that was very strong. And granted, it's the government's job to see, hey, are these things getting too big? Maybe we need to make a precedent. I understand the scrutiny, and I've always stood in fairness to regulators. I've always said, if this doesn't go through, which I did feel it would be because of the cloud and how strong they could become in the cloud. And you see the CMA stood on a square, and they got Microsoft to bend the knee, and you're going to have to get that to Ubisoft, and you're going to have to do this, and then we feel satisfied. But yeah, it was looking very dark. I think the EU was the turnaround out of this, seasonal story. Like if it was a DVD box set, that was, season 3 was when it was starting to turn around, because it was looking spooky. I ain't going to front. It was looking spooky, but I stood on my square. I just feel that I'm going to be real. I feel that this is good for gamers. I feel that more people get a chance to access these games. I think like Nintendo, I think of the PC market. I think of, cloud streaming and more accessibility. And I look at them as the third place. Oh, this is the point I wanted to say. I forgot the key point I wanted to say earlier to Melissa. When people say, about the challenging, and again, I'm not trying to be a tag. I'm just trying to educate people from stuff I've learned from other people and industry executives, which is when you're the challenger brand, organic doesn't work. You have no history. No one knows who you are. If you're Microsoft or you're, Ouya, you're coming out with the Ouya right now. No one knows you, right? So you can try to build something organically and say, hey, I want to build this and get people to come. But one, that's going to take time, resources, and you don't have the brand recognition when you're dealing with established Japanese entities with years in the business. So again, the great Peter Moore has said to me, he's like, you have to acquire, you have to buy, you have to give people a reason to get over there. Look at Epic. I know not everybody likes him. Shout out to Steam Bros. I know Steam Bros. I know Steam is the platform. I get it. But for you to get to look at them, they had to be like, yo, Fortnite's over here. Right? Yo, we got to get these things over here. So that's what I'm trying to say, that you have to put your mentality into the challenger brand. That's what he did with Sega. That's what he did with You're the Underdog. All that organic stuff is not going to work. You have to give people compelling. And this is, to me, Xbox's position. Now, it's up to them, to figure this thing out as far as the success and managing. I can't predict the future. We'll see. A lot of careers are on the line with this, but we'll see. But, thank you for, the flowers and stuff like that. And I just think ultimately it's a good deal for gamers. I think Game Pass is still a great service, and it's up to them to execute and put this stuff into the service.
One thing that would make gaming better through this deal is a better Xbox PC app. So let's go to Family Falls is right in here. Hey, Dookie boys, quick BattleNet question. Now that Xbox owns Activision, do you think that they will turn BattleNet into an Xbox storefront to compete with the likes of Valve and Epic? As Xbox is becoming more of an app, I think the Play Anywhere feature is underrated. Going from my couch to my computer and on the go with the Ally, continuing where I left off is amazing. I have a question real quick in the middle of this writing.
Yeah, please.
Have you had any problems with synchronizing saves? Because I've had that with Lies of P. Like, it'll be like a 10-minute difference, but like I'll fire it up on my ROG and it'll be like, yeah, like we couldn't sync your last save. And I'm like, retry. Nope, retry. No, I'm like, why can't I get does that happen to you?
I've seen the length of, you're correct. The length of time to sync on PC is longer now. I don't know if it's a byproduct of the server activity and people, but you're right. I started noticing it with Starfield. But I went, all right, well, maybe Starfield, I got so many saves. But to your point, some games I do notice it. And I'm thinking maybe is this a server bandwidth issue? But no, you're right. I have seen, and you get to have to hit the retry and have to go through the percentage.
It doesn't work, and I just have to sync last save.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's weird that it's been happening more. So
I have seen it. Yes.
Continuing, Family Falls right in. However, the Xbox app on PC is more of a Game Pass app, and I would like the feature to work with games I bought from the Xbox storefront as well. I just want Play Anywhere to be more ubiquitous besides a select few games. They have an opportunity to do something with BattleNet. Anyway, what are your thoughts on BattleNet? Are they going to merge it with the Xbox app, keep it as is, or just abandon it? Well, thank you for writing in, Family Falls. This is a big one here because the Xbox PC app, I mean, this is one of their, PC is one of their primary platforms, and they're aware it's bad, but they just can't figure it out, dude. They can't. And I mean, like, when was the last time we sat down? I think it was when they dropped that update where they put the how long to beat timer in there, and they made some under the hood changes, but the amount of it's very reminiscent of Halo Infinite. Like, the amount of significant changes in those early seasons isn't enough for me to buy it and be like, yeah, like they've really turned the corner now. I'm waiting for the season 5 moment, right? I'm waiting for the season 5 moment.
Waiting for the flood.
Yeah, right. We're waiting for the flood. Because I open the app now, and my biggest problem with it, I'm sure everyone can agree here, bro, finding things is awful. I hate scrolling through these tiles. Like, it's so bad, man. So, Cog, does Xbox lean into what they own here with BattleNet? Because you have this established app. Like, here's the thing I'll say in their defense, right? When it comes to app layout, is I use the Xbox app a lot for remote play, whether it be on my ROG Ally, which is behind me, or
on my Logitech. And I just feel like it's there on that smaller screen. It works, navigates a lot better. But when it comes, Cog, to this PC app, it's heinous, man. It's awful. And some of the games don't even run well here. So what does Xbox do? Is Battle.net the answer to a prayer?
Man, I would like it to be. I would like it to be because, again, I don't know the back end ramifications, and I know it must be a lot. And it's easy for me to say and say, all you got to do is, but I have experience with Battle.net for a long time, and as a Destiny fan, before they were on Battle.net at one point, very early, and then I think that's when they did the deal with Steam. I forgot what the history was, but I ain't gonna front, when they was over there, man. It was the smoothest experience. The anti-cheat, the situation was lit over there. I didn't have to deal with, and I remember, please, Lords of Steam, please don't come for me, but I just got to be honest about my experience. When it went over to Steam, and Bungie made that move, I was like, oh my God, what happened? On the PC front, that's when it was cheat central. It was going down. It was wild, crazy, wild west. And it was so bad. I'm like, I'm not playing PvP over here. I'm playing it when it comes to console, and I'm gonna stay over here, and I don't want to deal with y'all. And that's how it went. But for back to Xbox, they just haven't nailed this PC app. They just haven't. They've done very incremental updates. Maybe there's a long-term plan, and maybe that was in effect that once this gets acquired, now we can go with our long-term plan and do what we have to do. But they've got to get this store together. And my thing is, hey, if you got this amazing resource already, why not make the full, transition and combine it and say, this is the new home of, So again, I don't know the legal ramifications. I don't know the back-end ramifications. Just selfishly, I would like that. Or please give us substantial updates to this app. Because even if you don't want to do Battle.net, you're going to have two separate launchers. You're still going to have the Battle.net launcher. You're going to have the Xbox launcher. It gets confusing. And you want to synergize. You want people to know that you're the home of all of this.
How does a day one Game Pass game work now, right? When you're talking about Activision, like, okay, you can buy it on Battle.net. You can also download it as part of your subscription on the app for Xbox or buy it there. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It doesn't send a unified message if they are split, especially if you own them. So yeah, like I would like, look, I know there's going to be some aspects of Blizzard that's going to still operate independently, but you do have a resource here. And this is something that you are not, that's not your strength. So how about let's utilize what their strength is.
And this may take some time because I remembered something, which is Bethesda.net.
Yes.
Remember that was a thing for a while. And now in April 7th, 2022, they sunset Bethesda.net as a launcher and they migrated to Steam. And I don't know if that's a clear option for Activision. Not that I'm saying they should sunset Battle.net and move over to Steam, but this happened post acquisition, right? And I wonder if there was that Microsoft influence in that. I mean, this was just a launcher that there was no reason to use it. And I thought the way Bethesda handled the migration was great. Like they have here, you have plenty of time to begin migrating your Bethesda.net library. The migration to Steam will include your game library and wallet, meaning you will not lose anything from your Bethesda.net account. So like they did a really good job with the transition. And there is this sort of way to swing from one place to the other that I don't think any of us are experienced enough about to experience enough to know about truly intimately. Right. But there's something here, right? That there was a shift with where Bethesda would have their games. Right. And part of it was a lack of use, but part of it was probably because of Xbox, right? Like Xbox app and Steam. So now you've got this huge platform in Battle.net. Do you take a lot of that tech and integrate it into your own platform? Do you gradually, because if you want that unified message, as you said, if you want to send a clear message of like, this is where you go to play Activision games, it's on Steam and it's on the Xbox app, just like Bethesda games. So we'll see.
Again, these are those million career decisions that have to be thought about, right? And if you mishandle or you handle correctly, this could tell a story. And PC needs to be. This is look at what we just looked at the MPD numbers, and we saw how well Starfield did on PC. A lot of it was also PC was contributing to those MPDs. Like this is a platform that people are willing to do. You got to do it right. You have to do it right.
So we did Activision, we did Blizzard. Let's do King.
Yeah.
Pen and Pant writes in, hey Dukes, Candy Crush is a monumental moneymaker for Xbox now that the deal went through. Recently, I haven't seen much talk about this side of the Activision deal. Obviously, I would love to see different Candy Crush themes like Halo, Fallout, Gears, or even Senua Saga. How else can they utilize the mobile front of this deal? P.S. Put together all the capital letters in my write-up for a surprise. And so I did that. It's Crux. Crux. It's very, very disappointing that you went to this length despite me. So, Cog, with Pen and Pants right in here, what do you think they should do with the mobile side of things?
Oh, it's about to get. It's on now. It's on now. This is what we're here for. This is what I know the hardcore ain't gonna like this one, but this is what we're here for, baby. Like they have had no presence. Like Windows Phone, they have been horrible in this. So now, listen, Candy Crush is the home also of the older gamer demographic, the female gamer demographic, that you got that going on. The thing, the money that they make is insane. Now you're going to talk about potentially Call of Duty Mobile. I would assume, I think Phil alluded to, he's new to that industry, but I would assume that they may have some plans to bring some franchises over there as well that make sense to mobile, because look, we got to be real. The mobile game is now surpassing some of the console market, right? Some of those gamers are not going to be in there with us, playing Starfield. You know what I mean? Like there's certain games that they're here for their little experience, and this is what drives them, right? So to me, you're going to have some experiences that come over that's simple enough that makes sense, and then that drives that. I do think they Candy Crush will see a resurgence though, because that I think the hardcore, the console gaming can adapt to it. I think that they will do some integrations there. The potential here is exciting because even though I am not a mobile gamer, I know what this means, and this is for the success of Xbox's future moving forward. Remember, we talked about Minecraft. You're going to need, these are the generators. These are the money to allow us to get a Dishonored 3, to allow us to get these joints that we want. This is what you got to. So shout out to Pen and Pant. Their handling of this, that already a guarantee, you really can't mess this up. This is a Minecraft situation. You've inherited something that's already popping crazy, right? You just assist them. You just, okay, what you need, boom, boom. All right, we'll do some little integrations here and there. Yeah. And then here's some ideas for you here and there. You don't mess them up. You don't upset the apple cart, because that right there is the cash cow, right? They in there. That's a sweatshop that's moving. They moving the work out there, A
lot of money there.
They moving Aurora. A lot of Aurora going on. There's a lot of sales being made, baby. Don't you mess up that product. Because they lit.
No, you're completely right. Yeah, this is the one that has to remain untouched, because one thing Phil said that was interesting, he was talking about all the teams going, learning about them, and whatever they want to work on, we'll let them. But with King, he said, I want to learn about that side of the business. Very different tune being sung there. Oh, yeah. Very much a tune of education, standing of what you want to do, which is
because Microsoft clearly never knew what they were doing every time they jumped in that space. Every time they jumped in, it was a disaster. You know what I'm saying? Like, did they close Gears Pop? Am I bugging? Is Gears Pop shut down?
That's definitely not available.
Yeah,
if it is, I have not heard anything.
I remember King used to go Harvard. He said it was actually good, but you learn from them dudes over there. You learn.
I mean, we see things like, of course, Fallout Shelter was a compelling part of getting Bethesda. They're doing Elder Scrolls Castles. Bethesda does have this mobile initiative that is successful. Elder Scrolls Blades is really successful. Fallout Shelter is it's the most successful Fallout game ever made. Take that as you will. I mean, I love Fallout Shelter, so I'm actually kind of cool with it. But
yeah, it's a good game. But it's crazy to say that.
I know, right? It is. But this is the key to the castle, right? What comes from this who knows, right? This could be how we hope it goes, where you mentioned COG, like this is your key to Dishonored 3, right? Like no doubt this is a guaranteed revenue stream into the company that should enable, I would hope, more pentiments, more passion projects, more like, let's take a flyer on this. Let's see what happens, right?
Mhm.
Because it's something that Xbox is getting better with, but like we saw how they've missed out on like when PlayStation had day one Rocket League, right?
Yes.
I always remember that. I just download. I was like, this looks good. Like,
Yeah.
let me try this out, right? Or Fall Guys, right?
Genshin.
So Genshin is a big one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Xbox has missed out on these things. And I wonder if it's because they're too mind on the money. But when you have this cash flow, maybe you do enable green light more projects than you typically would. That is the hope.
Yeah.
But I also wonder, I shouldn't say I wonder, I know a lot of people are wondering if this means that we're going to get a Candy Crush of all these different Xbox IP or games like Candy Crush. And I don't think that's what's going to happen. But I think as they're in this education space, right?
Mm-hmm.
They may be incentivized to have one of like, okay, so if you look at Clubrill's graphic, like there's a ton of Activision support studios. You have teams like, not Roundhouse, but there's another one under Bethesda that I'm forgetting right now the name of. I apologize, but
yeah, they do mobile, right?
They do mobile. Like there are these quiet teams that could be pushed into mobile initiatives if they're interested in that. And I think that's where Xbox is going to go. I think when you looked at their plans that leaked in these emails about originally a Xbox mobile store, make no mistake, there are plans for more, but I don't think it's just going to be themed games. I think you're going to get like a Doom. I'm forgetting all these mobile game names. One that's like the runner type game.
Yeah. I don't have the names escaping me.
Cutesy kind of Doom game.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that. You're going to get these more, I put in quotes, original takes on the mobile space. And I think that's where Xbox wants to be ultimately. And make no mistake that that's going to be a big part of whoever they buy next, because that's the other part I wanted to get to kind of wrap this up, COG, is who's next? Because I know people aren't going to like that part of the conversation, but Phil has said, Xbox as a brand has said, we're going to keep going after this. And one thing Hogue said is that when you win a deal like this, you're emboldened. They didn't stop us for that, which is possibly the top of the mountain. Then who else can we get now? And that would likely ease the process through, right? Because it's like if they go keep it below that very high ceiling, they should be enabled, right?
Yeah.
So they're going to keep going. They're going to keep buying. COG, who's on your shopping list?
Well, you know what I want. I mean, it's obvious what I want based on my history. You know, as a Sega kid, it makes a lot of sense. You know, we talked about Japanese presence. I have to look at it from the needs perspective. What do they need? I mean, they damn near got everything now, right? But what else do they need? If you want to look at their portfolio, it's like, okay, Japanese, you know, the Japanese games, the Japanese market, you don't really have a presence there. So to me, that's where this, you know, it makes sense. It would be an organic relationship based on the fact that they've had that history since the Peter Moore days, since the OG Xbox days. Peter himself told me how he went over there to help them with the integration when the Dreamcast went down. They had Windows CE in the Dreamcast. There is a synergy there from years and years and years. So it makes sense there. I do think if it did happen, it would be a different kind of, it would be more akin to Bungie. I don't think it would be able to pull off.
Oh.
Yeah. I've been talking.
Interesting change. Okay, let's hear it.
Because the vibe in Japan is you can't be a foreigner and be front facing and take over the home country's thing. Right. So not that you can't acquire a Japanese company, but it would not be perceived well to have Xbox branding all over. They have to operate as Sega, the Sega that is known, loved, respected in the region. Now, you can Trojan horse Game Pass. You can Trojan horse maybe a little bit of marketing space here and there with just an Xbox logo or something like that. But I think in Japanese sensibilities, culturally, it's not going to work for you to come in there and be like, we're here now and this is what it is. So I think things would remain multi-plat if they was to acquire them. I think that it would be a kind of abundant situation where, things would go day and date Game Pass. I think that would happen.
Yeah, sure.
But I don't think they would be able to pull the exclusive game over there.
Poor Bethesda, if that's the case.
Sega would have a different rule set. They would be Bungie, and everybody be like, because remember Pete, they was like, wow, we got it. You know what I'm saying? But that's how the rules change, because you have to make this a seamless transition in the East, and it's all about respecting culture over there, and I think that's just what it is. So that's what I would say. And then I'm gonna give you my second pick, which is gonna surprise a lot of people.
Okay.
So my second pick is actually not no publisher. I think the other thing that could happen is they just sit pat and do something that is what I consider a technical acquisition, something that is back end, almost like, remember when PlayStation got Nexus? And people was like, yo, what they doing? You know what I'm saying? Like something back end and that really helps fortify and synergize things, as opposed to another huge publisher. And I know a lot of people would love that answer from me. You know what I'm saying? That to happen, because they'd be like, yo, y'all done? Y'all done already? And then and if they do that, everything else would be like extremely smaller, which would be like the certain affinities, the Asobos, something like one-offs. What I consider them one-offs, like, and then you just finish. And I think a lot of people would be happy with that, kind of thing, because also the thought process was saying, I have to be honest, as much as I love it and I want it, you kind of got a great partnership already. They like you already. You over there. You synergizing. Game Pass stuff is coming. They telling you how much they love you. You over there in Shaolin temples doing whatever you doing. See Sarah and Phil out there. Like it's already kind of happening. So again, I always butcher the expression. You already got the milk kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, so maybe they just sit pat on that. So that's where I'm at. One or two. Sega's my first choice. If it's going to be something, I say them. I know people will say Square's out there, true. But again, both situations I could see Sega. Well, my second choice, that both Sega and Square seem to be in pocket now. Do you need to buy them? They're following along. We see that the CEO talk about stuff is coming. We see Jez talk about he's lessening his stance, big games included. He means Final Fantasy 16 and 7 remake at some point. And Sega, we know. So maybe it's like smaller stuff and back end. I think a lot of people might be happy with that. What you think?
So I'm in agreement with you on Sega. I'm in agreement with you on you got to target the East now. I think when you look at Xbox's lineup of weaknesses, as I mentioned last week when you asked me about EA and like, should EA be a target of Xboxes if they're looking to sell, given that Disney is seemingly floating around the idea? And I said no, because you already got the biggest Western publisher in Activision, right? There's no need unless they see real value in their sports games, which I just don't think you need that exclusively. I don't know what you get out of that personally. So I just don't think that's a match at all. And I think EA goes to someone like Amazon, goes to someone like Tencent. Like they're gonna be the ones who sell out. It's gonna be an EA moment for sure. Like for all the goodwill they've gained in all these single player games, they're gonna have an EA moment on the way out, no doubt about it.
Feel it coming.
But I think you've got to target the East. That is your biggest weakness, and the East has great connections with mobile games too. Let's be honest. Like this is where a lot of the gacha style games originate. But I also think Xbox might explore China a bit. I think they've really spoken at length about how they missed out on Genshin, how they've missed out on a lot of these games. We know they've kind of opened up initiative. They had a position they were hiring for someone to literally go look at games from developers in China. And they're making some of the most talked about games right now. You brought up Genshin, right? And like Genshin is so big, it's powered Honkai Star Rail. It's powering the Zenless Zone Zero. Like these games look great. And like they have lifelong fans now and fans of games beyond Genshin because of that one game. Like you can't miss out on that type of stuff. So I think they're going to look to the East, no doubt, where they end up. I think Japan makes the most sense. Now I will gently push back on one aspect of your argument that I don't think a lot of people are thinking of if Xbox were to acquire Sega is, yes, you don't want to have this Western brand take over an Eastern one based off what we talked about with Pride and whatnot. But I've always thought that you won't see Xbox branding everywhere in Japan.
Xbox will use the Sega branding for their stuff. So it'll be like the Sega box or the Dreamcast 2 or whatever. Like, I think Xbox would be silly to not lean into that element because, like you're going to be wearing a mask, no doubt about it. And they'll be like, you bought an Xbox. You don't know that, right? It's going to go over a different name.
I feel you.
But I feel like that's a big reason to go out because then it's that celebration of, I put this in quotes, yo, Sega's back in the console space now. I don't know if that's too much trickery, but if I'm Xbox and you can do something like that, that is your way to break through the East. Because outside of the Trojan horse with Game Pass, I don't know how you really break something that you've been trying since the OG Xbox. Your best-selling game, according to stats on BGC, your best-selling game in Japan is Dead or Alive 3.
Wow.
An original Xbox game. Not stuff like iSimp over here with Lost Odyssey, right? Not these JRPGs that they paid for exclusivity with Tales of Vesperia. One of the first ever OG Xbox exclusives, Dead or Alive 3.
Yeah, I remember that.
So you got to do something pretty dramatic to shift your perception. And Sega has a pretty good perspective and perception. Right? So if you start seeing Sega on the shiny new console boxes, I think that goes a really long way for Xbox. So I think it's a big reason you do that. That goes beyond what we as core fans want, which is like, yo, give me Persona, give me those JRPGs, give me Catherine, like, and so on and so forth. Like, I think it goes beyond that. That's your way to crack the East with someone who had a history with consoles, whereas someone like Square Enix, you get a lot of IP, but you have that problem that you're mentioning there. And if that is going to be a problem for Sega or Square, I think that's the way you circumnavigate it. Okay. Also,
what you got?
Sonic.
Ooh.
Just like you need your kid games. You've got Spyro, Crash, Sonic.
Of course.
So there's that.
Sure.
I think, you're right that they have the partnership there, but they're going to get a publisher next. That's my prediction. Like they're not going to go. A lot of people think like, okay, you got the big one. Like now we're going to start catching the little fish here. Like let's get in this Stobo here.
You already got away with the big. So you're like, yo, one more. And then
right. That's where everyone's head's at.
I got you.
And I'm trying to prepare people's brains for like, no, you're going to be horribly surprised when you wake up one day and you see that they've got another massive fucking publisher acquisition on the way. That is what they're going to do. Absolutely. And I'm trying to brace you all for that. Because it's either, when have they had a small acquisition? When they bought individual studios, they bought 5 at once.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So they're not going to come in and like, let's do a humble little deal here and like hook this dude in. It's not going to happen, right? Like it's going to be someone big. And when I look at their weaknesses as a company, Xbox is a strong Western company that will always be their dominant market. They've done a good job in Europe, really with the UK, like breaking through, setting up teams there. They have never cracked the code in the East. And I think as you mentioned earlier, the challenger brand, that's the biggest challenge they got, right? Challenging Japan and just getting a little bit of the shift in mind share, right? People still use Vitas in Japan, for God's sakes. Like PlayStation and Nintendo are dominant there. So you've got to shift the branding, the messaging in that region.
Sega Series S.
Yeah, Sega Series. Sega Pass.
Sega Pass. That's what we do. Okay, I see what we're doing. I just
think that is the key, man. And if they're not thinking that, they're out of their minds. That because I could see Xbox just having so much money, and they say, "Fuck it, let's just buy them and see what happens." Right? Like, I can really see that. I'm not advocating for that. I hope they have a bigger plan than like, yo, that'd be sick library. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I know I have my own personal bias. You mentioned earlier we have our own bias. Mine is like I want Xbox to get that Japanese support, like a true investment in the region. Like I've mentioned before, I've pumped my brakes on all these, people celebrating the Tokyo Game Show. I'm like, no, it's good. Like I like that they're getting better and better with Day One Game Pass, and we're getting stuff like Persona 5 Tactica, 3 Reload. They're debuting Metaphor ReFantazio. Like good. We're still building up to like. Xbox hasn't had a bona fide JRPG style exclusive in forever. You could count Hi-Fi Rush. I think that would be fair. Japanese style game, Japanese theme,
traditional,
right? So, but we know we're talking about turn-based, like JRPG, anime characters, that type of shit. So,
speaking of which, I know of one publisher that has that style of game, and they make one of the biggest, I think, Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy. I mean, I know of one. You know, I don't know how you
down on hard times.
I mean, we got to talk about it. We've avoided it a little bit. That does bring strength to the region. I mean, I don't know how you handle exclusive situation but we know that catalog is crazy.
It does not care what's exclusive. If you are giving them money, they will put that shit on Xbox in a heartbeat. Just like we've seen, they take money from anybody. So if Xbox is paying, they will play. But
so my question is, what would you rather if we're in the boardroom right now, we're part of mergers and acquisitions, and the proposal goes out, and it's Sega and it's Square. What are you choosing?
Sega. Like
I'm still over.
I just think it's a more natural decision. I feel like it answers way more of their problems.
What if Square's a little more desperate? They gotta keep the lights on, and you know how big brother
Xbox is big
come through when the checks is low that month, you can't get across the finish line with the rent. You know how they've been known, and they got a new CEO.
Yeah, I think Square they both make a lot of sense. They both make a lot of sense. I think Square makes sense because I think from the outside looking in, they have a more focused mobile division, which I know Xbox is interested in. And then you get those massive JRPG series. I just think Sega, in terms of rebranding, natural, like we're talking from the start, man, of the Xbox, like the spiritual successor to the Dreamcast. From the staff they hired, like there's that's out of all the big mergers they've made, like I think Bethesda was organic, although people don't want to admit that.
Of course it was.
But I think that out of anything that would be truly organic, it would be Sega.
Yes.
I really think it would be Sega.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of history there.
100%. Bethesda and Sega.
I go with.
Yeah, Bethesda and Sega are the most organic stuff. I always look at Square as a Sony kind of. Sony and Nintendo. Like I always feel those two are the roots. If you look at the family tree, right? Yeah, that's 100%. The family tree. But Sega, Xbox. You're right. I just wanted to throw a wrench in it. That's what.
No, I like it. I like it. All right, let's move on to number 2 here, Cog. Pete Hines, head of publishing at Bethesda, is retiring after 24 years with the company. Meanwhile, Will Shen, Starfield's lead quest designer, has left Bethesda Game Studios after beginning work at the company around the release of Fallout 3 and has joined ex-Bethesda Game Studios project lead Jeff Gardner's Something Wicked Games. We have a write in here from the Lazy Indian Gamer, their username, not the one I'm giving them. Hey, Deuce, I just wanted to ask, it is interesting that Pete Hines retired after 24 years, just after the Activision deal became official. Do you think this is a sign of things to come at Xbox, or did he just get a fat paycheck and has retired rich and happy? So it's been a bit of speculation around Pete Hines' retirement. A lot of people thinking, maybe he wanted out. That leaked email certainly not helping his case because he seemed very annoyed at Xbox for how they were handling the messaging of Bethesda games versus Activision games. I was on Xbox 2+1 with Jez and Rand, and Rand was saying he kind of got the vibe that Pete maybe wasn't an Xbox lifer, so to say. He was very apologetic about the exclusivity with Starfield, whereas someone like Aaron Greenberg was a little more firm, like, it's going to be exclusive. Same with Elder Scrolls 6. It's going to be exclusive. So many people are thinking that Pete just wanted out and let's keep it real, a little bit of fear mongering in the streets, like he's out, he wasn't happy there, and he's going to go work somewhere else now. But his note on Twitter firmly states retiring and moving on to the next chapter of his life and focusing on enjoying life more. So where do you stand on this retirement, Cog? What do you think? We'll share personal stories with a follow-up, right? But what do you make of the actual retirement of Pete Hines and Will Shen moving on as well? All of this happening after the release of Starfield.
I think in Pete's case, it's definitely, I feel like it's time. Like he wants to legit retire. I don't get the sense necessarily like, I'm so annoyed. I got to get out of here, kind of energy. I mean, maybe it comes out later. But when I read those notes and I read those comments and I read, the response by Microsoft, I received the way Bethesda received it was so cool. I love that message.
Yeah,
They
a lot of
sent
love for him.
A lot of love for him. And then it was kind of like, what was it? They had like a gaming reference for his retirement. It was kind of cool.
They had the doctor note. Yeah.
Yes.
The doctor note, which he does. For those who don't know the story behind that, with every game that releases under Bethesda, he'll put out a Dr. Pete Hines kind of note saying like you can take off from work or like be sick for the day to go play the game. And so it's been a thing for all their releases. I think starting with Fallout 4, I want to say.
Yeah, salute them. So like, yeah, I felt this seemed mutual. I didn't get any sense of anything. You could always tell by the verbiage on both parties, right? As opposed to Platinum Games situation. Yeah. So yeah, look, I think that's it. Now, Will Shen did surprise me. Shen did surprise me. I ain't gonna lie. I was just like, yo, I liked you in the direct. You was cool. That kind of thing. But I will say the Shen thing feels to me, again, you correct me if I'm wrong, because you Bethesda, you know more about them than me. The Shen thing, I feel, may be a byproduct of you've been working on Starfield all this time, you reached the finish line, you know what I mean? And I think for some guys, whether it be big projects or post-acquisition, I'm looking at you, Activision Blizzard, I'm keep my eye on Mike and Rod, right? Yeah, like sometimes you get to the mountaintop and then it's like, all right, I'm here now. So that's really all I got. Very curious your thoughts on Shen particularly, but I know you have a ton of Pete insights, so I'm curious on that as well, what you feel on these announcements.
Will Shen's the quicker one, so I'll do that.
Mm-hmm.
I read that as sort of a lot of people were looking at like the back-to-back exits, and I get it. We're a traumatized industry, so when you see that, you look at how many studios have had those countless exits in a row where it's like, oh my God, this team's being gutted. It's not the same as it once was.
Mm-hmm.
With Will Shen, he's been there since Fallout 3, and I think there is a lot that was riding on Starfield, right?
Yes.
And to have it launch as successfully as it did, there's probably a feeling of relief, and then what's next? And for your first new IP, which is something I'll circle back to with Pete Hines, to come out, this feels like a good time to close the chapter for a lot of people, I think, in Bethesda Game Studios. Like they've been working on this thing for far longer than we've been seeing it. They've been talking about it since 2018, but I think it was in development since way before that, with pre-production, I mean. So they've been chipping away at this for a while. And if Will Shen's been there since Fallout 3, which he has, he's been there from start to finish of the very initial idea of Starfield all the way to it releasing. It makes sense. And where he's going is, again, people need to get the context clues here. Jeff Gardner was a project lead at Bethesda, another one of those higher ups at Bethesda Game Studios, again, dating back to the Fallout 3 days. Extremely awesome guy, by the way. I met him at the Fallout 3 or Fallout 76 event. And he was, out of any game developer I've met, he was like the nicest anyone's ever been to me. Not that anyone's been mean, but like he was really familiar with my content, like a legit fan, kind of. Like he was like, yeah, my wife sends me my videos. That's how I found you. Like we really chummed it up. And so like he's an awesome guy, really gracious to me, which I appreciated. So I love that dude. So like I'm about his vision, because to me, he's the only reason why 76 got into a respectable area. Like it launched, it was awful. He as project lead stepped in and brought out Wastelanders, which put the game in a redeemable state. So that dude's talented and has clear vision, and he's overseeing something, Wicked Games, which is doing a game called Word Song, which is set in Portugal. It's about like Knights Templar mythos. And so he's poaching talent from Obsidian. He's poaching talent from BioWare.
Wow.
And yeah, he's going back to his old stomping grounds. You kidding me? He's been so yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of BGS devs leap ship. Nate Perkypile, who had been with the company since Fallout 3, he left and started his own game dev initiative. These people learn the ropes of how things work at Bethesda Game Studios for generations and then go out on their own or go try a new adventure. So I don't think this is a sound the alarm bells exit for either of these two. I think it's awesome that Will Shen's actually recognizable enough now that he actually made the news when he left. That's cool to see, because I called out his name with Fallout 4 Far Harbor. He was the one who directed or led the charge on that.
And that was the perfect response to every bit of criticism that was laid at the feet of Fallout 4, which I think was done rightfully so. Like, where's the role playing? Why is it so shooty looty? Where's the choice and consequence? And like, this DLC answered everything. And he was the one overseeing all that. So when I saw that Starfield's lead quest designer was Will Shen, the only thing I really do worry about is like, this was one of the dudes who was really pushing for that particular style of Bethesda game in the terms of conversation and questing that you got in Starfield. He was pushing for the choice and consequence like that. You can tell when he had his own individual project where he wanted to take things. And he took it that direction with Starfield's quests. Like, he designed them where every quest has multiple endings and there's a lot of choices and replayability there. Not as extreme as Baldur's Gate 3, which I know is immediately the game people size it up to, but that is his focus. And so that is going to be a loss that is felt maybe in Elder Scrolls 6, which Elder Scrolls is always more focused, it seems like, on openness rather than choice.
Right.
So you may not feel that in the quest with ES6. We'll see. As for Pete Hines, I don't read too deeply into his retirement other than he's been there for 24 years, right?
Yeah.
And that is starting off with, I think, Daggerfall, maybe. But he's been there since, just like we talk about with Todd Howard, their stories are the same. They came in together and they both were back against the wall. Let's do this Morrowind thing. He was there with the rise and fall and rise again of Bethesda. And so, yeah, once you get to this point in the road, you've been acquired by Xbox. Starfield is out, the first new IP in 25 years, almost the entirety of the time you've been there. How could he not reflect for a moment and go, I think it's time? It just felt poetic. It was the right time for Pete to go. I do think in a sense, like, Xbox fans do need to be wary that, like you mentioned with Mikey Barr, Rod Ferguson, all these higher up execs who are going to get a fat payout when the deal closes, they start planning the next couple of years of their life. Like, okay, like, how can I get out of it? So that's the thing that you always have to be wary of when we talk acquisitions. With those listening out there, we've learned a lot this year with games releasing and the quality of it and the Series S SKUs, right? There's talent levels. And while you can buy all the IP, when you lose the talent afterwards, that's something Xbox needs to be wary of here. And so when you see this talent exiting, this is going to be something you see with Activision Blizzard. Now, the difference is we have a more positive, not everyone likes Pete, but we have a more positive view of Pete where everyone's rooting for Bobby Kotick to like fly, just put him in a cannon and fire him out of the company.
You don't want him at the round table.
Yeah. So like when he leaves, there's going to be this kind of celebration, right? And so when the conversation's been that, so when someone chooses to leave and it's an announcement, it's more of a reaction of like, wait, what? Hold on, why? But when you look at how much Pete has been there for this company, like a Bethesda lifer, I couldn't see him anywhere else. And why would he need to go anywhere else? He has gradually climbed up the ladder to the head of publishing at Bethesda. It makes sense. And so congrats to him on a fantastic career. And we can kind of lean into this a little bit more here with Snail Killers, right? And Hello, Spidey Dukes, or Defining Spidey, with the departure of Pete Hines from Bethesda. And before we talk about all the conspiracy theories of why he left, what is your fondest memories from Pete? Mine was for sure the Doom 2016 reveal. Have a great, I don't see a doctor until next year kind of day.
Nice.
Shout out to you, Snail Killer. Good to hear. Now, Cog, you and I have both had the privilege of meeting Pete. I'd love to hear your story.
Yeah, that was, literally my highlight. I've always wanted to meet him. I've, never really had access in the past to Bethesda and stuff. I was like late for their stuff. Or like it was just always hard to get in. It was like when they were a separate entity. I always remember though, it was the best show in town, and it was so cool to be a part of whatever they were putting on during the E3 days. But it finally happened. It was this year, and obviously Summer Games Fest. I'm out there for the conferences, and I happened to bump into him, and it was very matter of fact. And he sat and took a long time with me. Like, it was not just, hey, photo op. He gave me extended conversation, and we just talked Starfield. And at the time, I had to respect, because he was giving me nuggets that I really was supposed to be talking about. The game wasn't out. And we would just talk about the complexity of how the things based on the systems in the game, they were doing. And I think it was like hijacking ships and things going into orbit when you try to like hijack, and he was like how they would him and the team were getting, amazed at some of the possibilities that were happening, because this was the talk I used to tell you guys. Like I would go to a planet and I'd look in the sky and I'm like, oh, someone's here, someone's landing. Oh, let me go over there. And then, so we talking pirate. He's just like, yo, I love that aspect of the game. He's like, I hope you guys, love it too. But I just wanted to thank him. I was like, look, man, you're a legend again. You've been in there for a long time. And just to hear the genuine enthusiasm and excitement for something they built, and you can tell he was very appreciative. So it was a very positive experience. I loved my conversations with him. And I wish him the best. It seemed like a really positive, heartfelt on both sides, and appreciation of both sides. Even Phil shouted him out in the
I saw
Phil interview, which was dope. Look, one of the legends, man, of the industry. So it's cool to see him get a proper send-off. But I'm dying to hear your story.
Yeah, I think my story is pretty fascinating because in the sense that I covered Bethesda for so long now, and I'd even covered, like, Pete used to be very interactive with the community. He's not as much anymore, like starting with 76 and that backlash. Like I used to make news videos based off tweets he'd put out that would give information on the game. And so it's just, he completely pulled out of that. And so that became a non-factor. But when I did, like, I had fun with my thumbnails when I was in college and whatnot. I make stupid shit. Like I put his face on a ketchup bottle, like Hines ketchup. Right? I think that was a Twitch emote for me, for like my OG Maddie stream viewers. Like, you'll know, like, like I had Todd emotes, I had Pete emotes. Like I had so much fun with the big exec at Bethesda. and I say all that because then you grow up a little bit. You come face to face with these dudes and you're like, like in my most immature of days, I know I was having fun, but like, how are they going to receive me when clearly they must think something positive of me if I'm here, right? But how are they going to receive me? And Pete was someone who I've interacted with before. I told this story in one of my videos. The Fallout community fucking hated me, man. Like, it like, oh my God, they hated me. And
H1 4?
Yeah, before 4 came out. And I remember Pete tweeted something about Fallout. And I was saying in a joking manner, like, welcome to the Fallout community, something along those lines. And like Pete clapped back with something along the lines of like, welcome to the community. Like, bro, one of us has been here since the 90s. And this got screen capped and put on Reddit. And bro, I was on the front, not like, Starfield r/gaming, front page of Reddit getting fucking cooked. And so, bro, you would have thought I was some fucking devil, but the people celebrating the shutdown, man. People were loving it. So I'm thinking like, all right, he got his licks in, I got mine in. Like, so I've met him before at E3 2016. That was a very brief chat. I don't even remember much outside of I took a picture with him. But the 76 event comes around, and I remember at the time I was definitely in like a why on the road kind of moment. Like there's this fork in the road, left or right. I was like, I don't know if I want to do YouTube anymore. And I was thinking about not like, could I work in the industry? And I told this story on DDU, and I've told it on DD before, but yeah, like I was interested at one time. It's just crazy that I've made the absolute right call, but like I was interested in working at Bethesda. I was interested in working in a game company because, for those who want to know the reasoning behind it, like, number one, I didn't feel I had a future. Like I didn't feel like I had an audience that like believed in me. I didn't feel like I was getting the viewership I wanted to get to make it a justifiable full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted a sense of stability in my life. Like I don't need to worry about what my viewership's going to do. Like I just want to live my life. And so this was kind of like a potential natural integration. And so I was just kind of like at the event and feeling things out. And I've told the story on how, like, after I had that moment of like, I know they're probably interested at some point in hiring me, but, it's either this or Fallout 76 getting shit on. And it's like, I got to do right by the audience. And like, I did my thing and I got ghosted. But, when I met Pete, this was like nothing to do with any like interest in a job or anything like that. I just had a chance to sit down at a table with like him. I think Sean Baptiste worked there at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And a number of other like 47 communications PR agents and like other YouTubers there, like Juicehead was there and Oxhorn was there, and like it was like a big table. And we sat down with Pete, and in my head, like at first you're like, man, I'm like, you kind of think to yourself like, this guy probably can't fucking stand me. But I say all of that to kind of line up that he had every reason to at least give me the cold shoulder. But he was incredibly receptive, communicative, really nice dude, stand-up guy. And I'll always fondly remember our chat there because we just talked about hockey the whole time. Like just hockey. And it was awesome. It really was. And it gave me I was 2018. So I was 22, 23 at the time. It gave me this kind of perspective of like being above, like he could have definitely shat over me and just been like, get the fuck out of my table. Like just because you're here, don't like, he definitely could have. Not that I was belligerent or an asshole to him, but like I covered him a lot. Like I used his face as memes a lot. Like I'm sure he had every reason to be like, this fucking guy, man. Like absolutely. But he wasn't. He was really nice to me. And so,
nice.
You know, that's, I always fondly remember that conversation because, you know, that was definitely like a big moment in my life where I definitely made the right choice. I was like, fuck this. I don't want to do this. But, you know, he was definitely nice when I interacted with him, which I thought was pretty cool. So I thought that was a good story to share, just to, you know, because I know he doesn't have like he's got like a lukewarm rep online. Because like I talked about with Starfield when it was about to come out, like people were asking where the Fallout 4 next gen update was, and like he was like, you know, I don't know if you could tell, we're kind of working on this game called Starfield, and I'm just like, man, you're not doing yourself favors, Pete. Like, what the fuck is that, man? So he doesn't have the best reputation, but like in a professional environment, at least, I've had a pleasurable experience with him. So, yeah, he's a good guy. And of course, best wishes to him in the next chapter. Certainly excited to see whatever he does, which is hopefully just cooling it in the sun and doing nothing.
Yeah. Salute to the legend.
So with that, we move on to the last news topic here, and then we'll do Game Pass pick of the week and be out of here. No final questions for the show. Coming soon to Xbox Game Pass, October 19th on console, PC, and cloud, we get F1 Manager 2023. On October 24th, you get on PC with the performance that did not hit the expected target, City Skylines 2. October 26th, get your spooky on with Dead Space Remake coming to Series X and S as well as PC and cloud. October 26th also sees Frog Detective: The Entire Mystery on console and cloud, on top of Minico's Night Market, which is going to console, PC, and cloud. And on October 31st, you get Day One Game Pass Jusant on console, PC, and cloud, alongside Headbangers Rhythm Royale on console, PC, and cloud. Now, leaving Xbox Game Pass on October 31st, all these games will be out, and it's a pretty hefty bunch, so prepare yourselves. All of these are leaving console, PC, and cloud. Gunfire Reborn, Kill It With Fire, Persona 5 Royal. You all had your chance.
Yes, yeah.
Signalis and Celasta, Crown of the Magister. Poot writes in, hey Dukes, as a 'tis the season recommendation, I'd like to shout out Signalis. What a masterpiece of a debut effort from a primarily two-person team. Maddie backed me up on this, and I will, absolutely. To be able to draw horror inspirations from not only games, but movies and even books used to inform a rich sci-fi world with well-thought-out, engrossing lore, and anchoring it with deeply insightful observations on the human condition and a shockingly poignant emotional story, all of which is packaged within a banger of a survival horror game, coalesces into the type of experience I won't soon forget. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and I hope you have another banger game of a game. Looks to be arriving soon, but it's not my preferred piece of hardware, so I'm going to have a hissy fit kind of day. I just want to back this one up. If y'all are looking at games to play, the Signalis is about like 10 hours tops. If you like Silent Hill 2, if you like old school horror, this game was one of my top, I think it was number 6 in my Game of the Year list last year. It's fantastic. You can definitely get it done before Halloween. Go check it out. Good spooky time game. But Cog, anything here on the exit list? Catching your interest? Anything on the entry list? Catching your interest? Let's talk about it, friend.
I mean, we know which one is on the exit list that is, sad to go. Persona. I mean, that game was so long, though. I'm like, man, like I talk to Attic every day, and we talk about it. And he's just like, bro, I just went back, and then I had to go get this extra character so I get this extra Persona, and I missed this because I didn't do this. And I'm like, Man, you intimidated me on my first day. Like, I am so intimidated with the length of the game. It is such a commitment, but it's so excellent. So again, get on that for sure. I've heard obviously you praise Signalis as far as those another one that's leaving. Curiosity, obviously, this is your month. Like Dead Space is coming. That is huge. F1 manager for the F1, the Dukes out there that play that hardcore racing. I know that's a big deal. Jusant, I'm actually interested in. I want to see. I have my eye on it.
That's a COG artsy fartsy game, right?
Yeah, artsy fartsy cog, little, what's the word? Dystopian kind of thing. I think it's Don't Nod that makes that one. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah,
correct.
I got my eye on it. I think he's climbing and all that stuff. We'll see. I just want to see if they execute a little bit. What about you?
Dead Space, man. Like Dead Space remake. This is your time, ladies and gentlemen. If you've waited this long, this is a top 3 game this year. Just Game Pass continues to eat really good.
Yeah.
I adored my time with this. And y'all remember how skeptical I was going into launch. I'm like, is EA motive? I really don't think the original needs to be remade. If you've held out, let this be at the top of your list. Dead Space remake is worth the playthrough. It's another game that, just like I said with Signalis, 9-10 hours, and you'll be good to go. You can finish it there. You can do New Game Plus run. I beat it 3 times in its launch window.
Wow.
I love this game, man. It's so much fun to play. But it's also just atmospherically. You want to talk about the best lighting in the industry? Right here. Dead Space. Oh man, the way these environments, like when you see the fan that has like light on the outside coming in, and it's a dark room, and you just see the lights spiraling on the beautiful,
sick,
beautiful, man. This game is creepy, makes your skin crawl, but it's fun to play. Like if you can get a scaredy cat like me to overcome this, and the light changes they made to the story, so good, makes it a way better story. Like please check this one out if you missed out on it.
Dope.
All right, Cog, time for our Game Pass pick of the week. You made the selection, sir. Let's hear it. We may have already talked a bit about it.
Yeah, so I've been hearing things about some game making a resurgence, and they got a new season out, and COG gets back, and I'll be real with Halo. Like the game started off phenomenal. I dropped right around season 2, I believe. When they started doing the samurai stuff, right after they finished that, they dropped a couple, like a map or something, and I was like, all right, I'm good. I've seen what I need to see. I didn't feel anything really inspiring me for me to come back consistently. And I was like, I'll let y'all get it together. And then obviously we got all the subsequent news. But I ain't gonna front. So I fired this joint up. First thing off the bat, I've been noticed, I haven't played Halo Infinite in a while. I don't know if it's me, Maddie, but this engine has gotten a glow up. It looks way better to me. I started doing some King of the Hill, new battle pass. First thing off the bat, oh my God, the customizations. Thank you. I can change the helmet with the thing. And oh my God, I can put my samurai suit on my head. And I'm like, there we go. Yeah, the new Chimera suit is fire, very cyberpunk.
I'm using the hazmat right now. I thought it was like very funny looking, very Fallout inspired.
Very Fallout. Yes, very Fallout. And then I'm like, I'm playing against dudes. They got fire boots and all type of ornaments that look cool. I'm like, this is what we've been talking about. And then it's that classic gameplay. Just feels so good. Apparently there's new AIs that I see. I still use my man Fret. Fret is hilarious. Shout out to my man Patrick Redden, who designed Fret, who's hilarious. But he's a Respawn now. But I'm not gonna front. When you play this game and everything they've added to it, it feels amazing.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I still love it. It is. And now, again, I don't know, it was because I haven't played it in so long. It looks graphically better to me. Because I guess with all the lighting and the things they did with the suits and everything and all it just looks great. And then the new maps were playing great. So I didn't even touch Forge yet. So, bro, fire it up, community. Just see what's going on. See what's going on. I like the way the Battle Pass thing was handled. I'm like, okay, cool. they're doing their thing from a core gameplay and content. Pierre and the team have to get their flowers. They're giving it Master Chief Collection energy right now, and it's feeling good. Keep up the good work, and hopefully we'll see what happens with the future. But I had to shout them out because I was even fronting on them, and when I played, I'm like, this is that way, right? I ain't going for it. I'm feeling it. Yes.
It's always been fun to play, right? It's always been fun to play. It's been about content, and with the playlist kind of coming into form now, like the fact that they're dropping season 5 and in a little bit less than a month, they're dropping Halo 3 Refueled, I think is what they called it, as a playlist. Like that's really exciting, dude, because that's just gonna add in another batch of content, and it's got to that Halo Master Chief Collection level a little bit quicker than I thought it would.
Yes.
Right? It's that back to back, like, and there's more. But that's what they need. They need to, what did we say? They need to over deliver. And they're getting to that point now. I love the playlist because I wanted to just try out the new stuff, and they have one dedicated to that. Like, here's a 4v4 mode. I think it's like Capture the Flag and Slayer.
Capture the Flag and Slayer. Yeah.
And they're like, try out Forbidden, try out Prism. And I'm like, cool. I just get to see the new stuff right away. So if you're like listening to this and you're, I don't know, you can try it out that way. I tried it out. Where is it? Tried it out with the Backbone.
Oh, yeah, we clouded it.
I did it on my phone, man. And this game feels great on the cloud. I'm starting to sound like a fraud with my retro stuff, but like, I can't deny. I cannot deny the Play Anywhere. Someone wrote in about it as well. Yeah. I cannot deny Play Anywhere is a huge game changer. That's why, bro. I saw a lot of people talking this shit about the PlayStation Portal. I was on cue like that. I was like, yep, that's getting pre-ordered. Like, I need my portable options around the house now. Like, that's the way my gameplay has evolved. But yeah, that's how I was playing Halo Infinite. I was playing it on the cloud, and the response, the latency, bro. I mean, I wasn't doing great, but I mean, it wasn't because of latency.
It wasn't because of latency. I was having a skill issue. I was playing it back when I was testing MetaQuest and Gamepad. I was playing Infinite competitive multiplayer. And I'm like, I don't know what Infinite's doing, and I don't know how this synergy is working with their cloud. Also, queue wait times. Getting in the matches. Very quick. I was like, okay, gotta give them their flowers. I want to see if it continues up with the Steam. We talked about the Steam numbers and all that stuff for the engagement. Hopefully they have a little turnaround there. But yeah, very impressed. Good job. This is it. At
this rate, they're probably poised for like another season and some content drops between now and, I would say, if we're looking at how they're sizing up, like they should get another splash in the next season, right? And if they do, and they're lining up like a bigger announcement for like the next showcase, right, in the summer, like and we're adding this to Halo Infinite, right, creating that hype for it. I mean, they are on the track, as I said earlier, to that comeback, and I think they're just one big announcement away. Like it's changed that fast. I mean, not that fast. It feels like it's changed that fast for us. It's been a mountainous and uphill battle for them. But they are that one big announcement away from turning more like a lot of industry heads, a lot of conversation toward their game. Right now, it's that pocket. There are people playing, having fun, but they are getting there. And so I agree. Like it's a game that I had it uninstalled. It's a game that should just be on your hard drive now. Like you should have it good to go to fire up, to try out the new content. Cause now they're getting to the point where it's like, we want Infinite to be like, you don't got to grind it, y'all. You don't have to, I'm not going to be grinding it, but you can hop in for a match or two, see what's going on this season. Like have it installed now. It's install worthy so that you can fire up and play for a little bit. You don't got to tell me the next grind. Like I have a group of friends. We're always looking for the quote next grind. Like what's the big group game? It's like, no, it doesn't have to be that. Just fire it up, a couple matches, move on with your night, go play something else. But I agree with you. Worth the install. Great Game Pass pick of the week right there.
Yeah.
So with that, Cog, that ends a seismic episode of Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, episode 146. We appreciate all of you who listened this far. And Cog, it's time for our hashtag. So how do we want to wrap this one up?
This is a lot. We cover so much too.
It's got to be about the acquisition completing, right? I mean, that's finally it.
One would think. I still want to be very...
That's true. That's true.
I don't want to be very antagonistic. I'm trying to listen to the Realm of the Dukes
celebratory way, but yeah.
You know, I'm trying to be, just a little more warm and fuzzier.
Yeah. Perhaps.
What we doing? All jokes aside, I don't care. Whatever we want to do. Whatever we want to do.
We had to have done DDABK, right?
I don't think so.
That sounds
may be
like
right.
no way. Like, did we
Yeah,
not?
I don't think we've done DD ABK.
On no results.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there. I think that's a pretty easy one.
There we go.
So if you got this far, you want to let us know your thoughts on the episode, use the hashtag DDABK. Go ahead and post it in the comments. Be nice to us. Or you can go over on Twitter. I'm at G27status. Cog is at Lord Cognito. You can tag us there again with the hashtag DDABK. Let us know your thoughts on the episode. With that, Cog, it's been an absolute pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, we will gather once more next week for Defining Duke and Xbox Podcast, episode 147. So take great care of yourselves until then, and peace out.
Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is a product and trademark of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC, and is recorded from the United States of America. The show is conceived by Matthew Mr. Matty Plays Schroeder and me, Colin Moriarty, and is written and produced by Matthew Schroeder. Matty's co-host is Barry Lord Cognito Eversley. Defining Duke's executive producer is Dustin Furman, and the show is edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. As you know, all of Last Stand Media's shows, including Defining Duke, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer support level on Patreon, and we're thankful for your kindness and generosity.